But Newcastle United, as this second leg of this first semi-final gets underway, do have a healthy lead of 2-0. But Arsenal in their red and white shirts have already been awarded an early free kick midway through the Newcastle half as they play from left to right, attacking the Gallowgate end.
Well, they play the kick-off back to the goalie, which a lot of teams do. He launches it forward, what a good 70 yards, and it's a blatant block on Havertz, and they've got a free kick in a very, very dangerous position, 30 yards out.
We know the threat that Arsenal will pose from set pieces. Declan Rice and Martinelli just having a little word. Ødegaard has walked away. Gabriel has conveyed a message to 3 of his teammates who stand in a small little group either side of the Newcastle United back line, currently in an offside position. Now they make a run to intermingle with those line of Newcastle players. It is played in. The header out is going to go behind for a corner kick to Arsenal.
Well, positive start by Arsenal. Decent free kick in, wasn't it? There was not a lot of pace on it. I don't know if they work it that way. I like to see them going with a little bit more pace, but they've got a corner out of it.
Declan Rice strolls to this near side, the right in front of the Gallowgate end. Now you can hear the Arsenal travelling support. Rice waits to take the corner. The left arm is aloft. Rice then rolls it short. Martinelli right hand side of the area. Martinelli threads the ball through, cleared by Guimaraes, picked up by Murphy on this left hand side. Martinelli is back at him. Murphy runs with the ball. Murphy's still going. Martinelli with a foul. Free kick to Newcastle United. Every decision that is being contested is either booed or cheered by this capacity crowd.
I've got to say, Murphy did ever so well here, and he's picked it up on just outside the 18-yard box, and he's carried them right up the field in a dangerous position on this left-hand side now, going towards the Leazer's end, which Newcastle themselves can put a free kick into the box.
We're almost midway through the Arsenal half, few yards in from the left touchline. Deafening noise inside St James's Park. Some of them are up and out of their seats already in the Leazer's end, the area that Newcastle United are attacking. Whilst a goal at the other end moments ago might have pierced the atmosphere, a goal now here for Newcastle would really get this place rocking. 3 minutes in, free kick, Hall takes it short, Tonali, left-footed ball in, doesn't beat the first man, drops to the edge of the area, Trippier plays it down the line, Guimaraes is there, right side of the penalty area, back towards Trippier, gets stuck underneath his feet, ball played in there, it's a deep one by Cher, and it's curling out of play, and there was some pulling inside that penalty area, and Arsenal will get a free kick.
Well, it was easy, that little tug on Timber, who goes down so easy, but gets the free kick.
Goal at Coventry in the Championship, Sani Rudravajula.
Coventry 0, Leeds 1. It's taken 17 minutes for the league leaders to get ahead. Joel Peru threaded through, cool finish from him. Coventry 0, Leeds 1.
Leeds United looking to go 5 points clear at the top. Gordon hits the ball early. Isak is in, flag stays down. Isak enters the penalty area. Isak scores. Alexander Isak yet again against Arsenal. St James's Park goes berserk. That's the early goal that they craved. And Isak is the first Newcastle player to score against Arsenal in 3 different matches in a single campaign. They lead 1-0.
That's a brilliant finish by Isak, isn't it? I think he's offside though, Ian. I think they're going to VAR now, aren't they? He looked to me just a fraction offside. I mean, I hope he's not for Newcastle fans' sake, but we'll see what happens. But it was very close.
Remember as well,
it's a great finish as well, by the way.
Super finish, played in, inside right channel the penalty area, finds the top left-hand corner. Remember, and we had the first time it happened at Tottenham against Liverpool with the in-house announcements of the VAR at Spurs against Liverpool in that first leg when Stuart Atwell was the referee. Simon Hooper will be getting told of the instruction from John Brooks, who'll be currently looking at this, but they are checking the goal for a possible offside. The flag had stayed down on that far side. We don't have the benefit of a replay from our lofty commentary position here at St James's Park. but straight away you thought, didn't you? I could tell by your body language.
Yeah, I just thought he went a little bit early and as the ball came to. I just thought he was just a fraction off. I'm not taking anything away from the finish, though. He didn't know he was offside. It was a brilliant finish. But where we're sitting up here, to me, just looked offside.
The reaction, you'll hear the reaction of the crowd before you'll hear anything of Simon Hooper, I would imagine. I've got to say, from a spectator's point of view or a commentator's point of view, when we were at Tottenham, it was a rather underwhelming experience, this wait, the delay, and then waiting to hear the referee's voice when we already knew the decision. But they wait with bated breath inside St James's Park.
Well, it's strange, isn't it? Every game there's no VAR and they bring it in today. And I'll tell you what, if there was no VAR in, that would have been given.
Yeah.
Simple as. But I think it is going to be really, really close.
The word from the studio, it is incredibly tight, and that will only explain why there has been such a delay as John Brooks looks at this.
Offside.
And the goal will not stand. The goal has been ruled out. Simon Hooper.
After review, the goal scorer, Newcastle number 14, is in an offside position. The restart is indirect free kick for offside.
That was the voice of the referee, Simon Hooper. Chris Waddle, your hunch was correct. The goal is disallowed, 0-0. Newcastle's first leg lead remains 2-0 overall.
Well, it was a great start by Newcastle, wasn't it? We all looked at the system they were playing and what was happening, and the space Arsenal allowed Isak to run into, even though he was just offside. I'm not seeing Arsenal being that open, and it's very early in the game.
The first twist of many, perhaps, as Raya, in his luminous goalkeeping outfit, clears long. It just goes to show the threat of Alexander Isak. 11 goals in his last 9 appearances. Now Simon Hooper gives a decision to Arsenal, and it'll be a free kick 10 yards over the halfway line on that left touchline. 7 minutes played.
I'm glad the way Newcastle started in, because I like to see them on the front foot, high tempo. They will run out of steam, we know that. When you watch Newcastle play, they give half an hour, really quick tempo, and then they sort of come off that pace, but they've come out the blocks very quick.
I think really, Eddie Howe, they had to do that to embrace the energy and feed off the vibrant atmosphere inside St James's Park. They wanted it to be a cauldron, they wanted it to be a bear pit. Well, they've got it. But Arsenal, with their confidence that they would have gained from that super win against Manchester City, they will be undaunted. Rice runs forward, far side looking for Trossard, plays it and will get a corner kick, will he? Or did Trippier keep that ball out of play? Yes, he did. It'll be a throw right down by the corner flag. Trippier did ever so well. Arsenal were hoping it was going to be a corner kick. On that far side, Miles Lewis-Skelly, long looping throw in towards the penalty area, and it goes out of play for a goal kick. Had that red card not been rescinded against Wolverhampton Wanderers, he'd have been suspended for tonight.
That's right, yes. It was a daft decision, let's be honest. But you've got to say that Newcastle started very well. Arsenal, not a lot of energy. I thought they couldn't really come out the blocks and impose themselves on Newcastle, who are playing 3 at the back, which they don't normally play. So Arsenal so far very cautious.
No team has ever lost a 2-goal lead from an away first leg in this competition that began in the 60-61 campaign. Only 2 teams have come from behind from 31 home defeats in the first leg. Stoke against West Ham in 1972, and Arsenal, the last team to do it, against Spurs in 1987. Both Stoke and Arsenal won their respective finals, incidentally, as Gordon gets a free kick for Newcastle United on this near side the left, midway through the Arsenal half. 9 minutes played and it's tense.
Well, I don't think Arsenal settled at all. I think Newcastle look very confident. The crowd's been amazing. I don't think Arsenal settled. They look very ruffled.
So it'll be Lewis Hall to place this ball down. Thought about wanting it, the early one. Isak was alive to it. He'd made that run in behind towards the left corner of the penalty area, but Hall was a little slow to react. Isak now will trot and make his way in towards the D. 0-0 on 5 Live and BBC Sounds in this first of the semi-final second legs. In it comes, edge of the area, cleared away by Ødegaard. only as far as Trippier. His only other start in 2025 was against Bromley in the FA Cup third round of this new year, but he's been drafted in with all of his experience, and here he is on the ball. Former England international out towards that far side. Guimaraes caught in possession, it runs out of play for a throw. Newcastle United competing in only their third semi-final of this League Cup, but in the previous two they've reached the final on both occasions, yet to win it, and we've all talked about the long wait, whether it's a domestic wait of 70 years or that Fairs Cup success some 56 years ago. Many a Newcastle United fan is desperate for this to be their year. Arsenal will have something to say about it tonight, and in the middle of March, Liverpool or Tottenham will have something to say about it at Wembley, as that was a foul on Gabriel. And incidentally, the build-up to that second semi, Liverpool-Tottenham, on 5 Live tomorrow from 7, because this is the first day of 8 successive days of Cup football on 5 Live and BBC Sounds, whether it be the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup, or indeed next week the Champions League playoff ties. We have it covered on BBC Radio 5 Live and BBC Sounds. 11 minutes in, still 0-0. Gabriel hits a flat ball forward. Havertz directs his header in field. Tonali hammers it away. Sliced by Saliba. It'll run back towards Raya. He sliced it as well as he was backpedaling on the edge of the area. And because of that slice, it was awkward to control for Saliba. And then Timber fell to the floor. Didn't seem anything in that. And yet Arsenal get a free kick.
And then Gordon shouted, Timber. Listen, I mean, that's never a free kick ever. And I've got to say, Arsenal are rattled. They can't sit. They can't. Got no composure. Newcastle looks super confident.
Fabian Schär whips up the crowd as he went in for a shoulder-to-shoulder challenge with Declan Rice, and it goes out for a Newcastle.
I've got to say, Ian, because Newcastle have started very well, high tempo, and it's very hard to keep this tempo up. They need to score. You know, after 20 minutes up now, you'll see Arsenal really come into the game.
Isak to Tonali, overhits it. Gabriel steps out of defence, wouldn't stick for Trossard. Challenge comes in from Schär, was a strong one, but a fair one. Havertz back towards Lewis Skelly, turns away from Murphy, back towards Gabriel. Newcastle are pressing, back towards Raya. Ødegaard collects it, hunted, barged into the back by Guimaraes, but Arsenal beat that press at the moment. Timber does it well, back towards Ødegaard. Composed play by Arsenal. That was good.
That was brilliant. They were under pressure there as well, big pressure.
Here is Partey in the centre circle. Newcastle are trying to make their presence felt. They're pressing, closing down Newcastle at every opportunity. Ødegaard plays the ball through. Martinelli lays it off. Timber comes forward. Back then towards Partey in the centre circle. Passes the ball out wide right towards Trossard. This is good play. It's promising from Arsenal. Trossard's low ball. Stopped, and Burn should clear. But his clearance is charged down and it falls back towards Trossard. Trossard in field. Partey 30 yards out from goal. Newcastle with a body of black and white striped shirts in front of Partey. Chip forward, in towards Martinelli and into the arms of Dubravka. Another goal at Coventry. Sani.
Coventry 0, Leeds 2. Jayden Bogle managing to weave his way through. Keeper didn't quite deal with it and he slotted it home. Coventry 0, Leeds 2, 28 gone.
Leeds looking to go 5 clear. Celtic, remember, are already 10 clear, and this is their game in hand in the Scottish Premiership. And a goal at Parkhead, Kenny Crawford.
Yeah, 27 minutes gone, and they're on course for 13 points clear at the moment. Ian, it's Celtic 1, Dundee 0. Arnie Engels from the penalty spot, an 8th of the season for the Belgium. Celtic 1, Dundee 0.
The Women's League Cup semi-final, incidentally, between Chelsea and West Ham United is on Sports Extra. This is 5 Live and BBC Sounds. 14 minutes played. 0-0. Newcastle have had an early goal disallowed. Arsenal, well, that last passage of play, bearing in mind that you were saying, Chris, that they hadn't settled, they looked rattled, that will have maybe settled a few nerves, but they've lost the ball now. Here is Guimaraes to Gordon. Gordon enters the penalty area, shows too much to Ødegaard, he takes it away off his toes. Plays the ball forward to Havertz, midway through the Newcastle half. Ødegaard then towards Timber. His early ball, cut out by a sliding Hall. Picked up then by Botman. Botman comes to a standstill and chips the ball out towards Trippier. Takes it into feet and runs forward. Trippier midway through the Arsenal half. Murphy goes on the overlap, creates some space on the inside for Guimaraes. Back out towards Murphy on the right. delivers the cross, it's a deep one. Hall hooks it, hits the side netting, 0-0. Chris Waddle.
Well, I've got to say, Newcastle have been very positive. You see what Arsenal's trying to do, they're trying to keep possession, make Newcastle chase and work. They've had a couple of spells on the ball where they've done that very, very well. But you've got to say Newcastle are the team pushing. Look, the high press, but I don't know how long they can keep it up. It's very difficult at this tempo to keep it up against a quality side like Arsenal.
A 2-0 scoreline, or a 2-goal winning margin for Arsenal, would take us into extra time. So they don't have to chase the game just at this stage. As the ball goes back towards Dubravka, almost caught in possession, digs it out over the head of Martinelli. That was a rather awkward moment for the Newcastle United goalkeeper.
It was, but he dealt with it very, very well, and he found Hall on this left-hand side.
You think back to the first leg when he went up to the Newcastle supporters. He was very emotional. There were tears. Looked like it might have been tears for goodbye. He was being heavily linked with a move to Saudi Arabia at the time. And here he is, Martin Dubravka, the Slovakian international, looking at the age of 36 at maybe a Wembley appearance. Nick Pope back on the bench for the third successive time after injury. Nick Pope, who missed the last League Cup final when they lost to Manchester United because he was suspended after being sent off against Liverpool. And Dubravka, all in green, strikes it away downfield. Still goalless here on 5 Live. We're in the 17th minute. Isak with a cushion volley ball out towards Murphy, hits it back towards the Swedish international. Saliba comes across, clears. Isak though keeps the ball in play. Again a lovely touch off the top of his left boot by Alexander Isak. Battles with the ball with Gabriel, helped out by Trippier. Ball goes infield and he's scooped up by David Raya.
I think Newcastle's doing everything right at the minute. Nice tempo, both of them, asking questions, pressing Arsenal in the right positions. Arsenal really have had one decent attack, that's all they've had. I know they'll create more because Newcastle will come off the pace, but at the minute Newcastle's doing everything right.
Here is Ødegaard. Ødegaard coming forward for Arsenal. Trossard running through the centre at the moment. Rice is also there as he collects the square ball. Lewis Skelly picks it up, tries to wriggle his way into the penalty area, breaks towards Trossard, comes outside the box, can't get a shooting opportunity, side onto goal. Saliba joins the attack 30 yards out, rolls it out now towards Timber, attacking the Gallagate end. Timber back towards Trossard, ball played in towards Ødegaard, looks for the shooting opportunity, pulled back to Ødegaard, block comes in from Botman off the left-footed shot from the Norwegian.
And that's what they can do. Fantastic football by Arsenal, that, wasn't it?
They have won 4 of their last 7 visits to St James's Park, 2 of them by a scoreline of 2-0 that would take us to extra time today. Martinelli, challenge comes in, and the ball is put wide. And that was from Ødegaard, who continued to run in towards the penalty area.
Well, Martinelli's looking for a foul on the edge of the box, but did he play the advantage, which Ødegaard really probably preferred his left foot, didn't he? Hits it with his right, good strike, but always going wide. But this last couple of minutes, Arsenal have took control.
I was just going to say to you that you said that they might have been rattled early on. The last 2, 3, 4 minutes will offer encouragement.
Because Newcastle have come off the place slightly. I know it's only 20 minutes coming up to, but a big 20 minutes, a big occasion tonight, and Newcastle come up the blocks very, very quick, and now they've just sort of come off the pace, and you can't against a team like Arsenal.
Dubravka then with the goal kick, still at 0-0. Saliba's missed that clearance. Gordon puts the ball through. Isak is in again. Isak hits the post. Rebound to Murphy. Murphy on the rebound. That goal should stand. Newcastle United, who had the early goal wiped out, now do celebrate. And Newcastle United with the all-important first goal, leading Arsenal 1-0.
I'm just thinking, will there be another VAR? Yeah, was Murphy. Did he go with Isak when Isak did ever so well yet again, tracing down Saliba, and he hits it, great shot, hits the post, comes back. Murphy's the one who reacts, and that wasn't an easy finish, by the way. He's rolled it into a goal, but it wasn't easy. It came down with a little bit of pace, and he rolls it in to an empty net. And is there another VAR?
Well, the VAR will check it as a matter of course. To the naked eye, I thought Isak was onside.
Yeah, I did. Well, I think it's a goal, definitely.
And Jacob Murphy, who's been a regular in the side since early December, with his 5th goal. He was born in Wembley. He might well be taking Newcastle United a step closer to Wembley. And didn't he react so well? After the ball came back off the left-hand post, right-footed, first-time finish. Newcastle United 1, Arsenal 0, 3-0.
We said
is the aggregate score now.
We said the first goal was crucial, and Newcastle have got it.
Chants of Wembley reverberate around St James's Park. Newcastle United are ahead, and they increase their lead on aggregate. Martinelli with a cross in towards Rice, couldn't get there, flicked away, comes out towards the left back. Lewis Skelly pulls it back. Partey, Ødegaard, shot charged down by Gordon. Tonali leads the charge. Keeps his balance over the halfway line. Gordon up going with him. Isak is also there. Gordon, what energy levels from Gordon, in the end just nudged off the ball by Saliba. But bearing in mind he was the one who led the counter-attack, he was looking to finish it. Jason Tindall has been told to get back into his technical area by the 4th official. Havertz keeps the ball for Arsenal. Now it is with Rice. Midway through the Newcastle half, Ødegaard looks to shoot, gets it away, left-footed, off target, pulled it, goal kick. Newcastle lead by a goal to 0.
Well, I think it's a fair result the way they started the game, both teams. I think Newcastle have been the more positive. They've caused a massive threat, especially Isak, and they got the rewards. Arsenal's had a very good chance, didn't take. But listen, you can't write them off. We know they're a quality side, but really, you cannot say Newcastle giving this up.
Well, bearing in mind that they scored 4 goals against the champions on Sunday in the last 34 minutes of that game at the Emirates, there will always be that feeling from Eddie Howe of trying to guard against complacency. But try telling that to the Newcastle United supporters inside St James's Park. That all-important goal has been scored by the black and whites of Newcastle United. Trossard bypasses Ødegaard. Timber out towards Martinelli. Martinelli runs forward now, right hand side, dances a little bit around the ball, nutmegs Dan Burn, and then the ball is up then towards Lewis Hall. He holds on to it, his clearance goes straight to Ødegaard. Havertz with a cutback, good save by Dubravka to keep out the effort from Trossard. He hit it early, low right footed did Trossard. Dubravka was low down very well to his right.
They've actually settled now, Arsenal, and they're putting some good passes together. That was a good effort by Trossard, very good save. The last 2-3 minutes, well, since Newcastle scored, Arsenal have upped the tempo and they've pushed Newcastle on the back foot.
An Arsenal equaliser on the night, and still you would think anything could possibly happen here at St James's. Attacking the Gallagate end, 23 minutes in. Arsenal have a corner kick on this near side, the right, crowded area. Had to be behind by Trippier inside that very crowded near post, cheered by those Newcastle supporters, packed out in that Gallagate end as Ødegaard collects the ball himself and walks it back. The ball at his feet, places it carefully down in the quadrant. Once again, 4-5 Arsenal shirts have gathered at that far post. Saliba just lurking behind Dubravka. Now they make their way into a crowded 6-yard area. In it comes, and again very, very awkward. But Newcastle United keep that in-swinging corner behind for yet another corner.
Very, very, very difficult to deal with. I mean, Arsenal all start at the back post and they all come to the middle of the goal, to the near post. So many bodies. The keeper can't get through. Keeper's gone down. I don't know if he's looking for treatment, but they're terrific corners.
Dubravka at the moment is on his knees. He's in all green goalkeeping outfit inside that 6-yard area. But once again, the Arsenal players are waiting for that charge, as Chris Waddle quite rightly says. They wait far side of the 6-yard box and then they make their run into that 6-yard box. Newcastle try and block them off. Ødegaard's ball in again towards the near post, bit of a scramble, cleared away by Trippier in that crowded 6-yard area, very congested. Gordon with a foul, on Lewis Skelly. Arsenal take the free kick too quickly. The ball was moving, says referee Simon Hooper, and Arsenal have to retake it.
Silly foul to give away by Gordon. What is it? Halfway up the pitch, but no need for it. Arsenal's having a good spell. Them set pieces are so dangerous.
So it's forward of the centre circle as Arsenal play from left to right. 20 minutes to go to half-time. 5 Live and BBC Sounds. Ødegaard has a little word as he wanders across with Declan Rice. Newcastle United have got that quite a high line. Rice rolls it, Timber collects it right-footed, then passes the ball back inside. Saliba finds Rice, Lewis Skelly is to his left. Trossard provides the width on that left-hand side. Martinelli on this near side, the right. Ødegaard now will find the Brazilian. Level with the penalty area. Martinelli back towards Ødegaard. Ødegaard looks up, curls the ball deep inside the penalty area, and the downward header by Gabriel is off target. The cheers will tell you from a Newcastle point of view that it's gone behind for a goal kick. Newcastle still lead by 1-0 on the night. Chelsea West Ham in the Women's League Cup semi-final. Emily Herbert.
Well, it's still Chelsea 2, West Ham 0. Ritten Cannon missing a sitter to get her second of the night, but the Blues dominating as you'd expect. Heading to that League Cup final, West Ham without a shot on target yet. 20 to go. It's Chelsea 2, West Ham 0.
What are you pointing at, Chris?
The goalkeeper, I think he's struggling, mate. The last 5 minutes, I don't know if he's twisted his ankle or somebody's landed on him, something with his corners going in, but he's limping heavily and he's been on the ground twice. I'm sure the players will be saying, look, if you're injured, sit down. Because Arsenal's having a good spell at the minute.
He certainly isn't walking freely at all, is he, as he places the ball down on the edge of the 6-yard box for this goal kick. That game that Emily's watching, incidentally, is on Sports Extra. This is 5 Live and BBC Sounds. 27 minutes played. Dubravka gets plenty of distance on that goal kick. Saliba beats Isak in the air. Martinelli lifts it in the air, heads it towards Ødegaard, headed away by a stooping Botman. Tonal, it's like head tennis at the moment, won't just come down. Havertz leaves that bouncing ball for Botman. Kneed forward by Ødegaard, flicked on by Havertz, and then headed back by Cher to Dubravka, who picks up the ball inside the penalty area, but still hobbling.
He is still hobbling. As you say, he got good distance on that kick, didn't he? I think he's looking to throw it out now, but I think he's going to have to kick it because Arsenal 3-0 down in the tie. They've got to go and push. They've got to keep pushing Newcastle and ask some more questions.
Gordon just rolls away from Partey. His ball out to the left wing back. Hall went away from him. He desperately tried to keep the ball in play in front of Newcastle United's technical area. It went out for a throw. Timber passes it back. Saliba 10 yards inside his own half, finds Rice on the edge of the centre circle, almost cut out by Isak. Eventually it reaches Gabriel, floats the ball up in the air, out to this near right side for Martinelli. Little touch on towards Havertz. Timber forward to Martinelli again, level with the area. Newcastle United leading by 1-0. Martinelli attacking for Arsenal. Hall back pedals. Martinelli plays it in low. Blocked by Lewis Hall. Goes out of play for an Arsenal throw 10 yards up from the corner flag.
Hall did well there. I prefer Martinelli on the left, I've got to say, and coming inside on that right foot. He looks better, he looks more comfortable. He's not really got a lot of tricks, so when he's come down, you know he's going to go on his right, and he doesn't look comfortable going on the outside.
Here is Saliba down the right line. Timber feeds it forward. Martinelli's cross gets plenty of height on that. Back header away by Trippier inside the box, picked up by Lewis Skelly. He then goes back. Declan Rice. Rice now will find Saliba forward of the centre circle. Steps on the inside of Gordon, then releases the ball to Timber. His forward ball to Ødegaard. Martinelli now just in from the right touchline level of the area, back towards Timber. Partey has it. Ødegaard was available for a short forward ball, decided to hang on to it. Timber passes it out towards Martinelli, couldn't control it. Mikel Arteta though makes a point of coming out, applauding above his head and trying to gee up his players.
Well, he should have switched it there. Gabriel was in a lot of space in the middle of the park. He didn't see him obviously, but they've got to keep moving this ball because Newcastle are playing 5 at the back, and they are literally playing 5 at the back.
Well, they've got the insurance now, haven't they, of the goal?
Yeah, they've just got to keep clean sheet, but you know, we know Arsenal are clever, and the longer it goes, the more desperate Arsenal will get, but at the minute they're dominating the match.
That's the voice of the former England international Chris Waddle, who's with us here at St James's Park, as Ødegaard was just caught a little bit as he came off the field of play. He's hobbling, he's feeling that. He hasn't actually returned to the pitch at the moment, Ødegaard. He's actually feeling his left foot, it would seem, under the watchful eye of the fourth official, who is Simon Long this evening. Ødegaard is back on now. He makes a running movement down towards the right. Partey was looking towards Timber. Newcastle United have got everybody back behind the ball. Gabriel to Rice, tries to help it out towards the Arsenal left. Intercepted by Newcastle. Guimaraes now comes forward and looks towards the goal scorer Murphy. Gabriel comes across, shields the ball away from Murphy and then was barged from behind. Gabriel then reacts to something that either Murphy or Trippier was involved in.
Yeah, Trippier pushed him, I think. Maybe shot on his ankle or something. He wasn't happy about it. But so far so good for Newcastle. Yes, Arsenal's took over the possession stats, but not hurting anybody.
After losing that first leg to Newcastle at the Emirates, days later they were knocked out of the FA Cup. Still, of course, very much involved in the title race and the Champions League to look forward to. But so much work to do here in this League Cup semi-final. Losing 3-0 now on aggregate through that Murphy goal. Hall chips it long. Gordon makes the arcing run. Raya is out of his penalty area. Clears up towards Timber. Rears up, heads it towards Ødegaard. Timber keeps the ball in play. Havertz then hooks it away downfield. Botman against Martinelli. Botman gets a running jump at that and heads it out of play for a throw. 13 minutes to go to half-time. Just the one goal that we've seen so far tonight as Arsenal looking for an equaliser. Partey, less than 30 yards out. Ødegaard, right corner of the area, threads the ball through. Guimaraes was there with the interception. Holds on to the ball as he now runs it clear. Gordon is ahead of him. Did he keep the ball in play? Mikel Arteta thought not. The assistant referee said he did. Then Gordon has lost it as Timber spins away, passes the ball inside, laid off by Trossard. Lewis Skelly looking to get forward from left back. Rice though instead goes the other way towards the right. Ødegaard, Martinelli now, right hand side. Martinelli cuts onto his left foot, shoots low, left footed, blocked. Gordon clears, right footed volley away, only as far as Gabriel, off the chest, then slips, legs gave way. Isak then gives it away. The groans from the Newcastle supporters. Trossard back towards Partey. Arsenal with this spell of possession. Ødegaard trying to prise their way through with 12 minutes to go to half time. Havertz makes the run and it's marshalled safely behind by Botman, and that will be a goal kick. Newcastle still lead 1-0.
Well, I think Arsenal are dominating the game. They've had to come out. Obviously Newcastle's dropped a lot. They've gone back and defending the goal, but Arsenal's quality of the front three is letting them down at the minute. Havertz, Martinelli, and we're not seeing enough of Trossard, who's a very talented footballer, which is good news for Newcastle. That back five's handling that three very, very well.
Chris Waddle, who was a runner-up in this competition in 1993, not just in the League Cup but also in the FA Cup. But it was also the year 1993 that Chris Waddle was named Footballer of the Year, as he sits alongside us here on 5 Live and BBC Sounds with just over 10 minutes to go to half-time, and Newcastle still lead. Guimaraes, Partey steps forward, bounces off the shoulder of Tonali and forces the ball out wide on that left-hand side. Let's get the latest from Celtic with Kenny Crawford.
Right on half-time, Ian, it's Celtic 2, Dundee 0. Portuguese winger, the new signing, Jota's shot was saved by Trevor Carson, but there was Adam Ida to thump his 12th goal this season into the roof of the net. It's getting checked by VAR for offside, so we'll keep you posted. Celtic 2, Dundee 0.
Cheers, Kenny. This time next week we will be at Parkhead for Celtic against Bayern Munich in the Champions League playoff first leg. Isak releases the ball out towards Gordon, just forced there a little further wide than he maybe would have liked on this near side the left corner of the area, right footed, leaves it for Tonali. A little bit of afters on Gordon. Referee though I think is letting the game flow. Tonali tries to hold off Timber, holding him. Gordon's ball inside. Guimaraes, nice control, 2-3 little touches there from Guimaraes, who then Timber comes into the challenge and it goes out of play for a throw. Newcastle have a throw on this near side the left.
Well, they've got the ball near the corner flag. Quick throw to Gordon, but look, the key possession. There's another foul, silly foul by Ødegaard, pushing Gordon to the floor. No need. I think they're very frustrated at the minute, Arsenal.
That goal from Adamida incidentally stands, so Celtic do lead Dundee by 2-0 as they look to go 13 points clear at the top, and that would leave Dundee still 1 point clear of Ross County towards the bottom of the Scottish Premiership. 10 minutes to go to half-time. Newcastle United 1, Arsenal 0. Newcastle have a free kick, 10 yards in from the left touchline midway through the Arsenal half. Arsenal, with the red and white shirts, have a line just on the edge of their penalty area. Botman has gone forward, Hall to take it, in it comes now, drops, and it was Cher who had a slash at that with his left foot, and it goes wide for a goal kick that Raya wants to take quickly, deliberately plays it out along the ground. Lewis Skelly wriggles away from Murphy. Good play by the youngster, up towards Havertz. Havertz left hand side, sends over the cross, it's a deep one, nobody is there. Ødegaard will try and keep the ball in play, he's barged from behind by Tonali, and Newcastle United will get a throw right down by the corner flag inside their own half.
It's just the quality, and Arsenal there, good break. Havertz gets down that left hand side of the box, and you're looking for a bit of quality, and it's high, it's loose, goes out the other side of the field, so a throw in for Newcastle. Substitution.
Ethan Wanyeri is the player who's going to be coming on. Timber is the one who's come to the side. I just wonder whether that was the Ødegaard situation. There's another Arsenal player down inside the penalty area, so we'll wait to see who Wanyeri will be coming on. But we've had an update from the Championship. Sally Rodavajala.
Coventry 0, Leeds 2, a loose ball in the middle, punished by Joel Peru, played through on 17, and 9 later Jayden Bogle made it 2. The fullback allowed to drive into the box, keeper dove in spilling, and Bogle finishing. Leeds 5 clear at the top right now. At the break, Coventry City 0, Leeds United 2.
Martinelli is the player who's going to be coming off. Ethan Wanyeri is going to be coming on. He's scored back-to-back goals for the first time in his Arsenal career. I mean, they do have 2 terrific prospects with these teenagers, Wanyeri and Lewis Skelly, don't they?
Yeah, so potential-wise, they look, yes, definitely. They've come to a side who are winning games, and they're fitted straight in, full of confidence.
So Martinelli goes off after 37 minutes. They do have that little bit of a break, do Arsenal, going to Dubai for a week for an opportunity to recharge the batteries before they return to league action away to Leicester on the 15th. As Martinelli trudges off down the sideline and has a little quick handshake with Wanyeri, who now takes up his position on this right-hand side. Ødegaard towards Rice, early ball. Havertz enters the penalty area, heavy touch, and it was allowed by Botman to safely marshal it back to Dubravka.
Well, Newcastle so far so good here. You know, they've defended well. Arsenal's had a lot of ball. Newcastle got that we talked about earlier, the first goal, and Newcastle got it.
Well, Fulham at the weekend was the first time in 28 games when Newcastle United had scored first and then lost a game of football. But not only do Arsenal have to come from behind, they have to score 3 goals now in the process, as we have just over 6 minutes to go to the break. As Rice running forward. And then the ball is left towards Trossard, midway through the Newcastle half. They will be given a rapturous ovation, will the Newcastle United players, after this first half performance so far. Eddie Howe's Black and White Army is the chant that rings around St James's Park. Here is Rice. Remember in that first leg they had 23 shots but only 3 on target. Mikel Arteta this week has already bemoaned the fact that they were unable to sign a striker. Wanyeri's cross takes a deflection, headed away by Tonali, picked up by Gordon, decides to run against Ødegaard. Saliba comes across, slides, gets there first. Timber picks it up, doesn't keep the ball in play. The last touch was to force the ball out of play for a throw.
I've got to give Newcastle credit. You know, Arsenal had, yes, percentage of the ball, a lot more than Newcastle. I've made it count, and Newcastle 1-0 up, that's 3-0 on aggregate at the minute. So, but you just, at the minute, Arsenal, yes, dominating possession, but do not look like they're going to score a goal.
They've reached half-time at Parkhead, incidentally. Celtic 2, Dundee 0. Here is Ødegaard for Arsenal. Wanyeri collects it on this near right touchline. Hall and Gordon have doubled up on him. Wanyeri, who runs towards the penalty area, chips it right-footed deep and trips it behind, and it runs out for a goal kick. Arsenal have had nearly 73% possession.
Yeah, you can have as much as you want. If you don't hit the goal, you're not going to. It doesn't matter how much they get. Newcastle's doing their job. They have got a goal up, which they all said if they get the first goal, and they've done that. And since then, they've just worked hard. They're stopping Arsenal when they get in the final third. Yes, Arsenal's had a couple of good moments, but Newcastle have done very well.
Eddie Howe was saying that it's only a dangerous scoreline, 2-0, if Newcastle United don't perform. Well, they were out of the traps very, very quickly. Isak had that goal disallowed after 4 minutes, then Isak hit the post 15 minutes later, Murphy on the rebound, and that is why Newcastle United still lead by a goal to nil. Murphy on that far side, the right, his header in field is headed away by Gabriel, and then it is Cher who will go all the way back towards Dubravka, and as Rice runs towards him, he clears it out in front of the east stand, and it'll be an Arsenal throw. 4 minutes to go to the break. Partey picks it up for Arsenal. Timber just outside the centre circle, rolls it along the ground. Wanyeri the substitute. Again, he's faced by the prospect of Gordon and Hall. Tries to nick it into the path of Timber. Right side of the area, Ødegaard will pass it back. Forward of the centre circle for Gabriel. He'll run forward with the ball at his left boot. Rice is to his left, and they go further left towards Trossard. Trossard runs forward again. Newcastle United, in many ways, that's where the system's working, isn't it? Because they're able to double up on both flanks, Newcastle.
Well, I thought when he put a 5, they were going to play deep. They came out the blocks very quick, got themselves a goal, and since then they've sat very, very deep with a line of 5 at the back, and Arsenal find it very, very difficult to break them down.
Trippier and Havertz just having a few words. Yellow card has been shown to Kai Havertz with 3 minutes to go to half-time. Simon Hooper is there. Martin Ødegaard also having a little wander across. It is Botman, the player who is currently down, Sven Botman, who's only made 4 appearances this season. He did return last month after 9 months out with an ACL. And in fact, it was Guimaraes who was down, wasn't it? But Havertz and...
frustration in it, chasing things, lost the ball, trying to get it back.
Free kick then that Dubravka is in no real hurry to take. In front of that Gallagate end, to the right of the penalty area. Right-footed. Seems to have shaken off any knock that he might have picked up a good 15 minutes ago. Botman's header forward. It was Lewis Skelly who attacked that with real force. His header, though, will go out of play. Suits Newcastle at the moment, doesn't it?
Yeah, listen, they're playing their tempo. Arsenal's trying to lift it. Arsenal just lack a little bit of creativity in the final third. Havertz and Trossard, they're not getting the best out of him. I think Amari on this right-hand side's got a trick, but his final ball lets him down.
Mikel Arteta, who blamed the different balls in that first leg, as Gordon there was being held. Referee Simon Hooper is going to show a yellow card to Saliba. 2 Arsenal players booked now in a relatively short period. However, they have been using the same ball throughout this competition. Arsenal scored 16 goals in the League Cup prior to that first leg, and now they need to find 3 without conceding again if they're just to force extra time as we edge towards half-time here on 5 Live and BBC Sounds. Hall and Tonali stand over the free kick. Arsenal have got everybody back. They're quite central, there's no width for this. Everybody's gathered very, very narrow in the central part, around 30 yards out from the Arsenal goal. Hall is just told to wait as he now hits it on the diagonal, left-footed, drops inside the penalty area. Gabriel heads it away. Trossard tries to hook it away, picked up by Tonali. Botman will try and stop the Arsenal attack. Burns slides in and gets the 50-50 against Havertz. It's kept in play by Murphy, the goal scorer, to Guimaraes, now to Isak. Isak caught in possession. Party now for Arsenal midway through his own half. We'll find out how much added on time they'll be shown by the fourth official, Simon Long, as Arsenal come over the halfway line. Nwaneri running forward. Nobody inside the box to aim for at the moment, though. Nwaneri does put it back towards a sliding Havertz, who arrived late, and Newcastle United get it away.
I think Hall needs help with Nwaneri down this right hand side. He's not afraid to use his right foot. He goes on the outside. He's got his shot shown him inside. He needs somebody to come alongside of him and help him, because I think that's where it could turn the game. I'm not saying 3-0 is a massive turn round, but he's the problem down the right hand side.
5 minutes of added on time. That's the voice of Chris Waddle, who's with us here at St James's Park. We've got Matt Upson also be joining us as well, the former Arsenal and England defender, here on 5 Live, as Newcastle United with Isak over the halfway line, touches the ball to Gordon, invites the sliding challenge from Rice, who couldn't get there. Gordon comes forward, Gordon goes for a curler, and right-footed, Raya at full stretch away to his left, just wide, out for a goal kick. Newcastle lead 1-0.
Great run by Anthony Gordon down this left-hand side. Declan Rice slides in, gets a little bit of cramp, Declan Rice, as he gets up, but Gordon gets into that right foot, tries to bend it for that far corner. Not far away.
No, it wasn't, bearing in mind that they had that effort that came back off the post from Isak that was converted by Murphy into stoppage time. It was that lengthy wait with VAR. Injury or two as well. So I just can't help but keep thinking of that league game between the two sides some 14 years ago to this very day, when Newcastle United came back and scored 4 goals. Arsenal's equation is only 3. There is always hope as Tonali hits it forward. For any Arsenal supporters listening to 5 Live, however, a Gordon goal here could change that. Gordon has to go it alone, and his left-footed shot, as he was stood up by Saliba, left-footed off the legs of Saliba behind for a corner kick.
There'll be no rush to take this. He'll just walk across out to Gordon. Look, good out ball. When you've got people like Gordon, they've got the great out balls, Murphy. They've got terrific pace. So when he's intercept deep, these guys can run, and they carry the ball for the team up the field.
Kieran Trippier getting a lovely ovation from the Newcastle supporters as he makes his way in front of the Leazes end. Newcastle playing from right to left. Corner on this near side, the left. And Arsenal have got every red and white shirt back inside their penalty area. We're in stoppage time on 5 Live. Trippier right-footed. In it goes. Havertz's header is up rather than away. Botman's header is then cleared by Havertz properly at the second time of asking. Trippier heads the ball back towards Hall, and Hall will tidy up towards Dubravka on the edge of the area. They've had very few scares. I'm thinking of the Dubravka save low down from Trossard and the one from Ødegaard.
And the corners are very dangerous, aren't they? The corners under the crossbar, which have caused a few problems that Newcastle have dealt with. But apart from that, yes, Arsenal more possession, but Newcastle always carry a threat with that pace. They've got that front 3.
Here is Partey running onto this ball over the halfway line, and it might open up here for Lewis Skelly to the left, but Partey runs through the middle and then plays it out, brought down around knee height by the Arsenal left back. Plays it then to Trossard. Trossard doesn't deliver the ball straight away. His left-footed cross then blocked by Trippier, rebounds out of play for a throw, and we are into 3.5 minutes of the minimum of 5 to be added on here, with Newcastle United leading Arsenal, and a slender lead it is. We've had 2 balls on the pitch, so Simon Hooper, the referee, tells Trossard as he blows his whistle to go back and do the ball-boying duties, and it's going to be an uncontested drop ball that Arsenal quickly take. Here then is with Gabriel as he edges his way towards the midway point of the Newcastle half. Then goes back to Saliba inside the centre circle. Square then towards Timber. Ødegaard is out wide on this near side, the right. Nwaneri has gone infield. Ødegaard infield to Partey. Forward ball to Ødegaard. Nwaneri, challenge comes in from Byrne. Sliding one, out of play it goes for a throw. Looks a tricky prospect though, Nwaneri.
He does. He's not trying to go on the outside. He's got to work on his right foot a bit more, but he's pacey, direct.
In stoppage time then, and by my watch the last 30 seconds are currently being played here at St James's Park, where Newcastle United supporters are now 45 minutes and a smidgen away from going to Wembley on March the 16th for the League Cup final. Tonali hammers it clear. It's a high ball to drop. Lewis Skelly challenged by Trippier. Lewis Skelly does well to get clear. Guimaraes stops him unfairly, says referee Simon Hooper. But there is no time to take the free kick because the half-time whistle sounds. And Newcastle United are leading Arsenal by a 1-0. Chris Waddle.
I've got to say, being the better side, yes, Arsenal's had a lot of possession. They've had a lot of possession, Arsenal, but they've not made it count. And Newcastle, when they get the ball and they break quick with Gordon, Isak, Murphy, they carry a massive threat. So far, I think Newcastle deserve the lead.
Isak had an early goal disallowed, and after his then effort, some 15 minutes later hit the post. Murphy on hand on the rebound, and it is Newcastle United who lead 1-0 on the night, but 3-0 on aggregate. Steve.
Chris, I was reading before the game that Bruno Guimaraes should ask the Newcastle fans to try and make tonight feel as close as possible to when they absolutely hammered Paris Saint-Germain here in the Champions League. There were little touches all around, playing AC/DC before the game, just like they did before that game. I mean, it might not be quite that performance from Newcastle in the first half, but it ain't that far off.
I think they've been excellent. They've competed well, which you'd expect. Semi-final at home. They came out the blocks very quick. They had a goal disallowed by half a yard, if that. They took the game to Arsenal really early. They unsettled them, and they got the noses in front. That made it 3. Arsenal, yes, they've had a lot of possession, but I've got to say in the final third, Arsenal have really been poor. They haven't picked out a cross, a pass, apart from the corners which go into Odegaard, which are very threatening. They've created nothing.
Matt Upson is with us all night as well. Matt, what do you make of that first half?
Yeah, a little bit of familiar story, isn't it, in terms of the chance for Odegaard, which you just back him hitting the target, really. I thought he was going to try and place that, but he hits it with his laces off the side of the post. But for me, Steve, it's Isak and Gordon have just been too good. I mean, I think Saliba's having a little bit of an off night in terms of his judgment of the ball and his distances, and they are taking full advantage. Isak's been razor sharp. His finishing is just on another level at the moment. He gets a chance, he's hitting the target in great areas, and Gordon's been a live wire, and watching from home, you really get a sense of the atmosphere. I mean, the guys there are obviously enjoying it, but you can tell that start of the game, it was quite overwhelming actually for Arsenal. Newcastle just started brilliantly.
Chris, you'll be able to tell us better than anybody else. The Newcastle goal, we spoke before the game about some of the players who maybe don't get the headlines, and Jacob Murphy being one of them. I know it comes back to him and the goalkeeper's well out of position, but it's still not an easy finish, that, is it? No,
I mean, he's again getting on the other side. It's a great shot. It's the post, ball comes out, and it's not an easy finish. You know, I've got to say, I was surprised with the goalkeeper. Right, he didn't react at all to the ball hitting the post. He sort of stopped and gave up on it. Then he reacts, but Murphy, total focus, made sure, side-footed it, playing safe, rolls it into a goal. It was an easy chance. Atmosphere's electric. It came up, it reacted very quickly, and it comes up with another goal.
Matt, I don't know how you feel about this, and I don't know why I feel like this, but this should be over. It's 3-0. You know, we've had 3 halves of a semi-final done and 1 to go. In a weird way, it doesn't feel over. It still feels like if Arsenal were to score early in the second half, you never know.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, these games always have that feel. It has a feeling of that this is a mountain to climb for Arsenal now. I mean, that in both legs, they've had chances before Newcastle have scored, and they have to put the ball away, and it just hasn't happened for Arsenal. And now you feel like that Newcastle have got nicely set. The back 3 is working out nicely because they're defending the box really well, and set play, any crosses come in, you feel like those centre backs are going to deal with it. So Arsenal have to find a slightly different way of opening Newcastle up while having a little look at the threat that's going on behind them with Gordon and Isak, who are really, really bright. So I think it's a challenge for Arsenal to get anywhere near back in this game.
Absolutely massive challenge. Thank you very much for the time being, Matt. So we're waiting, and it looks very much like it's going to be Newcastle to be the first team into the League Cup final
for next month in the Women's League Cup. Do we have our first finalist now, Emily Herbert?
We do, and Chelsea reach a record-breaking 6th straight League Cup final. They've beaten West Ham by 2-0. Ritten, Cannerid and Nuskin with first half goals. West Ham managed just one shot on target and are knocked out by Chelsea for the 4th time in 5 years. Chelsea will face the winner of Arsenal versus Manchester City in the final tomorrow. Full time, Chelsea 2, West Ham 0.
Thank you very much, Emily. We are going to hear from the head coach of Warrington Wolves, Sam Burgess, shortly before second half commentary from here inside St James's Park. Newcastle so close to the League Cup final, leading Arsenal by 1-0 on the night and 3-0 on aggregate. We'll be back here after the news with Jill Mackenzie.
The voice of the UK.
And the home of the Six Nations.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
The UN has stressed that deporting people from occupied territory is strictly prohibited in international law after President Trump said the US should take ownership of Gaza and displace its Palestinian population. The UN Special Rapporteur for Palestinians, Francesca Albanese, says Gazans need aid, not proposals about who should rebuild the territory.
They have survived 15 months of relentless bombing and killing. I mean, these people need to be helped. And they need to be rescued before thinking of who's going to rebuild Gaza. Of course, Gaza is going to be rebuilt and will be rebuilt. But no one has the right to say how Gaza will be rebuilt other than the Palestinians.
A review of the handling of the Southport killer has found he should have been considered a terror threat, but his case was closed prematurely. Axel Ruda-Cabana was referred to the government's counter-terrorism programme, Prevent, 3 times by schools before he murdered 3 girls at a dance class in Southport last summer. The Security Minister is Dan Jarvis.
The overall conclusion of the review is that he should have been case managed through the Channel multi-agency process rather than closed to Prevent. This would have enabled coordinated multi-agency risk management and support.
The parents of a 15-year-old boy who was stabbed to death at a Sheffield school on Monday have urged young people not to carry knives. Harvey Wilgoose's mum, Caroline, wants people to imagine the devastation they can cause. A 15-year-old boy appeared in court today, charged with murder. The government's allowing 9 council areas in England to postpone local elections that were due in May. They'll be delayed until next year, so they happen after a major reorganisation of local government. Ministers say holding elections for authorities that are due to be scrapped would be a waste of money. And official figures suggest the number of deaths caused by alcohol in the UK has reached a record high for the 4th year in a row. 10,473 deaths from alcohol-specific causes were reported in 2023. Campaigners want changes like minimum unit pricing and tighter rules on adverts.
We are underway in the 2025 Six Nations. Right from Dupont. That man is magic.
On Saturday at 2:15 on 5 Sports Extra, Italy against Wales.
At 4:45, England versus France.
And on Sunday at 3 on 5 Live, Scotland against Ireland.
Well, the noise is quite incredible here.
And the Rugby Union Weekly podcast is now daily with all the best insight and analysis from the biggest names in the game. The Six Nations.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
This is 5 Live Sport
with Steve Crossman.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
Newcastle United have a 3-0 aggregate lead here at St James's Park over Arsenal with just 45 minutes to go of the League Cup semi-final. Second leg commentary on the way in the Championship. Leeds United are just starting to look more and more ominous. Are they still cruising at Coventry, Sani Rudravajula?
Steve, they really are. 5 into the second. Coventry 0, Leeds United 2. Dan James is looking really on it though. He's just hit the side netting when played through. Leeds are looking to go 5 clear. Pretty dominant at the moment. Goals from Pirout and Bogle in the first half of the difference. Coventry 0, Leeds 2.
5 points clear looks like a small gap if you're Celtic. Let's check in on their game with Dundee. Kenny Crawford.
Yeah, 53 minutes gone. Celtic 2-0 up, and Dundee 80% possession as well, so they're very, very comfortable. Those goals coming in the 18th minute from Arnie Engels, the Belgian, from the penalty spot, and then Adamida, former Norwich City striker, in first half added time, thumping into the roof of the net from close range. Celtic will go with 13 points if they win tonight, clear at the top of the league. Celtic 2, Dundee 0.
The new season of Super League is very nearly upon us. The competition starts next weekend. Warrington Wolves are coached by Sam Burgess. They just missed out on the grand final last year. This time out, they'll start away to Huddersfield Giants, who've just signed as a player Sam's brother, Tom. So here is Sam Burgess looking ahead to the new season with Matt Newsom.
Sam, another season upon us. I'm not going to get you bogged down in 2024, but is there anything in particular from last year that you've taken into this year, either whether it's as a motivation or a moment that you felt the players kind of enjoyed, or something that would be used as a fuel for this year?
Well, I mean, obviously the disappointment of a couple of the games at the end, and maybe possibly Wembley. You know, a couple of things we can learn from that. You know, we obviously we experienced quite a bit as a group. We played in some big games and some good experiences. You know, and we won some, we lost some. You know, and our challenge now is to understand why some of those results didn't go our way and what we can do better. You know, and you know, next time we get there, we're just going to be a bit better equipped.
Yeah, I guess in terms of your personnel, not been too many changes, just a couple of little additions. Are you satisfied with your recruitment, so to speak?
Yeah, obviously hands are tied a little bit with you know, with the salary cap inherited. You know, we've done our best to tidy it up as best we can, and you know, we lost a few players, but we brought in some other ones, and we've also just promoted some of our younger players. We've had to really look at what we've got in our development squads and what we can bring through, but we're comfortable where we are.
Yeah, and I guess at some point Leon will be back in the mix again, having obviously missed out a little bit from injury last year, and those sort of players can be like a new signing, can't they, in terms of the hunger and the sort of desire to get back on the paddock?
Yeah, well, I'm hoping he comes back and adds to the group again. He only played sort of 10 games last year, and we got a snippet of what he can bring. So you know, he's had a bit of a tricky pre-season, if I'm being honest. He's had a couple of niggles, but you know, he's sort of coming out the other side of those now, and you know, we'll look to see him early in the season, and hopefully can continue the form he had last year.
George Williams has been named as sort of kind of club captain for this year, stepping into the shoes of Steph Ratchford, who's obviously still going to be around the squad. But I presume, like, whilst George will sort of wear the metaphorical armband, there's lots of leaders within your team, and is that something you're keen to have? Lots of people who will contribute to that leadership.
Yeah, listen, it's really natural progression. George is the England captain. He captained 80% of our games last year. You know, Steph played a handful of games, so you know, it was just probably the right thing at the right time. And you know, but we do have a great number of leaders, and I really don't have a specific leadership group. I expect all my players to develop that side of the personality, and at some point or another, they're all going to have to lead, and all carrying the ball, all making tackles, and whatever that's the case, they've got a job to do. So, you know, we put responsibility on the group, but I've got some great men around. You know, Danny Walker, you know, Ben Curry, Luke Yates, Lockie Fitz, you know, Matt Duffy, Paul Vaughan. These guys are seriously experienced players. You know, so they know what they're doing. You know, and they bring a lot to the group. So George has got some great company around him.
You obviously got a little bit of kind of sibling sort of comfort these days in the fact that Tom's over here and playing. Have you had a chance to catch up with him over the off-season too?
Yeah, not a great deal. We had dinner on Sunday actually, which was nice. I saw his kids. My wife's in Australia getting a bit of sunshine. I'm by myself at the moment, so you know, the schedule's pretty busy right now, which is good. But it's been nice to see him, and obviously his beautiful young family over here. We'll see him again in a couple of weeks for round one. We're looking forward to that. It'll be a different experience for us, but we're quite having a bit of fun with it, so it'll be good.
Last time you were probably on the opposite side, you were probably whacking each other in the garden.
Yeah, well, we've never actually been on opposing sides. We really have not. You know, I've been in different countries and everything and whatnot, and but we've never really been against each other, in so to speak. I still want Tommy to do well, but I'm sure my teammates will have my players will have other ideas, so I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes.
Yeah, he's got 26 other rounds to have a good game, hasn't he?
Yeah. We'll see what we can do and try and nullify him.
That is Sam Burgess speaking to Matt Newsom. Let's go back to Celtic Dundee in the Scottish Premiership. Kenny Crawford.
57 minutes gone. It's now Celtic 3, Dundee 0. The cross by Portuguese winger Jota making his second home debut for the club, and the diving header by Japanese international Daisen Maeda, his 17th goal this season. Celtic 3, Dundee 0.
England are expected to name Northampton's Finn Smith at fly half, meaning Marcus Smith will move to fullback for Saturday's Six Nations game with France. Joe Root will make his first ODI appearance for England in more than a year when they take on India tomorrow. Yorkshire have sold their entire stake in the Northern Superchargers 100 franchise. It's been bought by the owners of the Indian Premier League side Sunrisers Hyderabad for just over £100 million. Second half commentary on the way here from St James's Park. One small problem, Matt Upson, is we've only got one team at the minute. Here come Newcastle, but Arsenal have been out for ages.
Well, that's generally a sign, Steve, that you've been told about something and it's short and sharp and to the point, and now get back out. You know, that for me is my experience of going out early, is that you've had a chat at half-time, the manager's told you what he needs, and then you're out. And, you know, it wouldn't surprise me because they've got to throw everything at this Arsenal. They've got no choice.
Certainly do. Thank you, Matt. So Matt will be back at full time. Of course, we might have extra time and penalties. If so, we'll bring it all to you for Arsenal. That feels a long, long way away. And 52,000 inside St James's Park. No, they are so close now. Ian.
It's probably, Steve, the equivalent of scaling the heights to our commentary position.
Crikey.
That can leave some out of breath. No names mentioned. We're about to get underway for the second half. Newcastle United haven't made any change. Use black and white striped shirts, black shorts, attacking the Gallagate end, playing from left to right against an Arsenal team in their red and white shirts and white shorts. And these are the two teams with Dubravka in goal. Back three for Newcastle of Botman, Cher and Byrne, Trippier and Hall, Guimaraes, Tonali, Murphy the goal scorer, Isak and Gordon. And Arsenal, after that first half change where Wanyeri came on to replace Martinelli, they have Raya in goal. They had named an unchanged side from the team that dismantled Manchester City. Timber, Gabriel, Saliba and Lewis Skelly, Rice, Partey and Ødegaard, Wanyeri, Havertz and Trossard now. And they need 3 goals without conceding again just to take this tie, this semi-final second leg to extra time. Tomorrow night from 7, all the build-up from Anfield. Liverpool against Tottenham for the second leg of the other semi-final, to see who will meet, as it stands, Newcastle United at Wembley in March. Raya in front of the Gallagher end, puts his foot on the ball, hops up and down a little bit, and then plays it low to Rice, hits it down into the ground towards Gabriel, forward ball to Trossard, turns almost into Guimaraes. He was caught late. Guimaraes is shown a yellow card. He missed the first leg through suspension. There's only one way that a player would be able to miss the final, and that would be a sending off close to it, as Alan Nick Pope some 2 years ago, but that was a late one by Guimaraes.
Yeah, he was very late. He's lucky there, referees looking at the Arsenal players are saying, is that it, yellow card? It was very late. He's gone over now, Guimaraes, to have a look at the player who's lying there. But again, Newcastle's come out the blocks pretty quick, which we thought, 20 minutes. And then they'll drop off again. But Arsenal just cannot create anything.
Eddie Howe, ahead of the game, was saying that how they had to attack the game. They had to embrace the atmosphere that had been generated. It was electric some 10 minutes before kick-off. VAR, of course, would be having a look at this as well, but I don't think there's any indication from Simon Hooper that he's been instructed any otherwise by John Brooks. So stoppage in play. We'll go to Celtic. Kenny Crawford.
Yes, they're having fun, the home side. Celtic 4, Dundee 0, and it's another one for Daisen Maeda. No sooner was he up to 17 for the season and he's up to 18. A wonderful chip from the edge of the box after being played through by Arnie Engels. He lofted it over Trevor Carson into the top left-hand corner. Celtic 4, Dundee 0.
How they missed Maeda at Aston Villa last week for that final match of the league phase. Trossard is up on his feet. Arsenal are about to take the free kick. He's still walking a little gingerly, is the Belgian, as it's hit downfield by Raya. Trippier ducks underneath it. Lewis Skelly will run forward, cleared by Trippier only as far as Rice. Bounced away off the legs of Havertz. It was an awkward touch. It was the header from Gabriel to Saliba, and he's caught in possession, and Gordon goes for goal, and Gordon pulls it just wide. That was a huge let-off for Arsenal. Gordon must have hit that from a good 40-45 yards out, right-footed. Ryan made a desperate attempt to keep it in, and it was just arcing its way from the left-hand post. as Newcastle United were almost gifted a second.
He's got to score that, Ian. I know it's 30, 45 yards out, whatever you're saying, but he's got an open goal. The goalkeeper's out of position. Saliba, I don't know what he was thinking. And he has Ozil on the break.
Now all of a sudden it's with Trossard. He's running freely now, is Trossard, edge of the area. Trossard with a shot, charged down by Trippier. Out for an Arsenal corner in front of those 5,000 travelling fans high up in the gods, away at the Lees' end, here on 5 Live and BBC Sounds, where Newcastle lead by a goal to 0.
As you say, Trossard's running very freely now. Thought the stretcher was coming on before, but Arsenal with a set piece corner coming in, and they've been very threatening with the corners. But going back to Gordon, he's got to score. It's an open goal, it's a pass into the net.
Declan Rice on this near side, the left, waits to take the corner kick. We're in the 50th minute of this semi-final second leg. Rice, right-footed, towards the far post, fisted out by Dubravka, picked up by Nwaneri, right-hand side. Nwaneri scoops the ball high and deep inside the box, headed behind by Murphy, with Rice behind him for another Arsenal corner kick.
I mean, they're putting the ball in the box, Arsenal, but there's no pace on it. It's very easy to deal with for the defenders, and the players who are attacking the ball can't get any power on it.
And Dubravka has only had one real save to make so far from Trossard in the first half. Newcastle lead still by a goal to 0, 3-0 on aggregate. Rice to take the corner kick, right-footed. Again, he goes very, very deep, and it curls all the way out. Despite the leap by Gabriel at that far side, doesn't keep it in play, and it will go out. That Dubravka is in no hurry to take for this goal kick. I talked in the first half about how it's never been done before, what Arsenal were out to achieve in all 14 previous wins, at least with a 2-goal lead away from home in the first leg. Those sides have progressed, and that is exactly what Newcastle United are on course to do at this stage. Trippier gets on the end of the Dubravka goal kick. Gabriel's header will be touched back by the forehead of Saliba to David Raya. Tomorrow night, I mentioned at Anfield, Friday night, the 4th round FA Cup weekend gets underway with commentary of Manchester United against Leicester City. We've got the FA Cup and the Six Nations this weekend as Arsenal kick the ball, and Gordon takes full advantage this time. What a calamitous piece of defending from Arsenal. And there was Anthony Gordon, right foot in first time, buries it into the bottom left-hand corner, and Newcastle United are Wembley bound.
Yeah, book your ticket. I can't see Ozil coming back, and I've got to say Ozil tonight, absolutely dreadful. I mean, what is Raya thinking there? Rolling the ball to Declan Rice, and he's got a man breathing down the back of his neck, and all of a sudden the ball pops out. Anthony Gordon, it's a simple goal for Gordon. He should have scored 5 minutes ago, and that is an even easier chance, and he's took this one.
David Raya, who has made some breathtaking saves this season for Arsenal, from his penalty area, played it short and forward, sliding challenge came in, and there was Gordon to profit, and he wasn't going to miss. He went close from 40-45 yards moments ago. On this occasion, inside the penalty area, and Arsenal have gifted Newcastle that goal. The black and white scarves being swirled around the heads of the Newcastle United supporters. They now lead 4-0 on aggregate. It's a long way back for Arsenal.
Can't see it, the way they played tonight. They've been very, very poor, Arsenal. I know they came here 2-0 down, and everybody was thought, they just beat Man City 5. But they came here tonight, and let's not take anything away from Newcastle. Newcastle have been excellent.
Newcastle United have doubled their first leg lead. The scarves now are being swayed from side to side. Some are being swirled, but they are singing about Wembley. They're dreaming about Wembley as Arsenal come forward. But basically Arsenal now, with a similar time frame, have got to do to Newcastle what they did to Manchester City at the weekend.
You can't say it. Arsenal, to me, have struggled tonight. I was surprised Newcastle played far at the back, but it's worked ever so well. And Arsenal just lack creativity, they've lacked ideas.
Lewis Skelly, Trossard plays it forward, and it will go all the way through to Dubravka. And the Arsenal supporters high up in the gods must be thinking, we've got a long trek back after seeing a night where they knew that they'd have to witness something special, just hasn't materialised. And instead, David Raya, who I recall making a brilliant double save late on in the Champions League earlier this season against Atalanta, on this occasion giving it towards Rice. That should be offside against Isak, and indeed there is the flag. And Declan Rice was sold so short.
I mean, he's showing it, which you coach to show, that's how they work, but the goalkeeper has got to make a decision. It's not on. You don't concede another goal so early in the second half.
Passes forward ball, stopped by Havertz inside the centre circle. Lewis Skelly passes the ball forward towards Trossard. Trossard goes on the outside. Trippier, though, will go with him. A flick inside by Trossard. Trippier makes sure that Trossard won't get there, held out by Guimaraes. Guimaraes was being pulled back by Trossard. Well, any Newcastle United supporter who might have been a little apprehensive about tonight's game, those fears, those anxieties might now all of a sudden just be starting to subside, because Arsenal, as we're 10 minutes into the second half, need to score 4 goals in 35 minutes just to force extra time.
I can't say where's it going to come from here, and I don't think they've got anyone on the bench who you would think would bring on and change this game. You've got to say, give Newcastle credit. They played well, they've done their job, they've worked on a system, 5 at the back, and it's paid dividends. But Arsenal shown nothing. Cheap losing the ball, cheap in possession, not really creating anything when it goes wide. You just can't see them score, never mind get back in the tie.
Ball is hit long from Raya with a goal kick. Botman will get there first before Havertz. Tonali helps it on its way. Gabriel then hits it and punts it up long in the air. Wanyeri against Byrne. Byrne with the header out towards Hall on that far side, and he clears the ball away. Gordon making a nuisance of himself. Loose ball might run towards Guimaraes. Gabriel just steps out of defence. Rice out towards Trossard on the stretch, and then Trippier is there. Trippier is pumped up for this one as he clatters it long towards Raya, and the supporters love to see that sort of challenge as well, regardless of which team you support. Trippier, with all of his years of experience, a former Tottenham man of course, as Ødegaard forward. Wanyeri on the Arsenal right, shown on the outside by a combination of Gordon and Hall. Back towards Ødegaard, a backdrop of Newcastle voices with this deafening noise inside St James's. Ødegaard, Gabriel forward of the centre circle. The Arsenal captain takes over once again, but his side are 2-0 down on the night and 4-0 down on aggregate. Ødegaard chips it in towards Havertz, off the chest, loses the ball, falls to the floor. Guimaraes will run clear, caught by Partey. Free kick to Newcastle United midway through their own half, and Simon Hooper comes under pressure from the Newcastle players. Another goal at Celtic, Kenny Crawford.
Oh, it's an absolute beauty, Ian. It's Celtic 5, Dundee 0. A second of the game for Arne Engels, the Belgian. 22 yards out, curled it right-footed into the top right-hand corner, and it kissed the underside of the bar on its way in. Beautiful to watch. Celtic 5, Dundee 0.
Arsenal's 17th League Cup semi-final. They've progressed in 8 of the previous 16. Hitting the buffers though here tonight in the northeast, as Newcastle United, their supporters are intent on soaking up every single minute of the 32 that remain of this contest, with a dream scoreline leading 2-0. Ball hit downfield, Havertz is onto it, flat clearance by Raya. 2 Newcastle players went with Kai Havertz, and Trippier leans over Havertz and says something that I don't think necessarily was complimentary towards the German.
Well, I don't need. He's looking for a foul, and he gets close up the hall, bundles himself out. Instead of going for the ball, he was in. He tries to get himself a free kick on the edge of the D, and he's asking the referee. It was never a free kick.
Marino is going to be coming on for Arsenal. So that will be a change in the midfield. Raheem Sterling is also going to be coming on. 5 times a winner of this League Cup in his career. A double change being made then by Mikel Arteta. Arsenal are 2-0 down on the night, trailing 4-0 on aggregate. Newcastle, though, still with their levels of desire. Gordon gives it to Isak. Gordon checks his run, edge of the area. Isak shoots low. Saved by Raya. Thing is, if they're on the balance of players and neutral speaking, if you just say who's going to score next, you'd go with Newcastle rather than
Newcastle
Arsenal.
again, yeah, definitely. Arsenal have been very poor, and I'm not, as I say, I think Newcastle have been excellent. Game plan they've worked on, has worked a treat.
Partey collects the ball from Raya, runs forward, stops because of Murphy's presence in front of him. Ball picked up now on the edge of the centre circle by Lewis Skelly. Wanyeri takes over and runs forward. Gets the ball back, does Lewis Skelly, low cross. Won't fall quite towards Havertz because Tonali is there, just mopping it up, but he's overrun it as Tonali. And Arsenal now have got a corner kick over on that far side. We've got half an hour remaining on BBC Radio 5 Live and BBC Sounds. And Newcastle United lead Arsenal 2-0. And the players who are going to be coming off is going to be Ødegaard. So that will be Moreno for Ødegaard. And the other change is going to be Trossard for Raheem Sterling. So Moreno for the Arsenal captain. Trossard will make way for Raheem Sterling in a desperate attempt for Arsenal to try and get, I was going to say a foothold, it'd be a toehold really back in this League Cup tie when you're 4-0 down. Raya comes all the way actually to the midway point of the Newcastle half. Whether that was his way of apologising to Declan Rice for that part in the second goal, I'm not too sure, but he stayed actually inside the centre circle, has David Raya. Corner kick then to Arsenal, far side the right in front of the Leesy's end. In swinger, headed behind by Murphy, didn't beat the first man. Looks behind for another corner kick. They have protected Dubravka very, very well for what they've had to do.
You can't fault any Newcastle player tonight so far in this game. They've been excellent, well organised, good tempo about them.
That's Chris Waddle. Always a pleasure to have Chris alongside us on BBC Radio 5 Live as Arsenal have another corner kick on that right-hand side. It's an in-swinger. Dubravka beaten in the air to the ball by Saliba, who prevented the Newcastle keeper from getting it. Newcastle now will break. Guimaraes sends Isak on his way. Isak will keep it in on that far side, but diving in was Declan Rice and stopping that run on the left-hand side as it goes out for a Newcastle throw. In no real hurry to take it on the left as Anthony Gordon leaves it for Lewis Hall. He feigned to take it and then just dropped it as he had intimated he was going to go back towards Byrne, who now collects it and passes it across the back. That back three of Byrne, Botman and Schär for the black and white striped shirts of Newcastle. Havertz wants Sterling to try and put pressure on Schär, but Sterling is slow to get there as Schär collects the ball and passes the ball out of defence. Saliba beats Isak to it. Headed forward then by Gabriel on the halfway line. Havertz looking a little isolated. Schär will get the ball away from the German, and Trippier passes the ball forward. Schär went to ground. Botman out towards Byrne, but there is time for those Newcastle players in defence to collect the ball, turn and see their options as Gordon stopped in his tracks by Partey, out towards Wanyeri. Wanyeri then attacks with pace, chips the ball towards the far post. Sterling wasn't alive to that. It went easily away from Sterling and out for a throw.
Good ball, Wanyeri does a little step over, goes with his left, goes onto the byline, clips a lovely ball across. Basically, between the 6-yard line and the goal, nobody's there to head it in.
When Arsenal hadn't won any of their previous 7 ties in the first leg of the League Cup semi-final, of their last previous 7 ties, they'd lost 3 and drawn 4. But they progressed in 4 of those 7. Not today. Newcastle United heading back to Wembley. Their last domestic trophy, 1955. The Fairs Cup in 1969. gaps of 70 years and 56 years respectively. Absolutely desperate for a trophy in these parts, as Arsenal desperate just for a goal. Wanyeri, Timber, back then towards Saliba. Lewis Skelly collects it 30 yards out from goal. Not a great deal of movement for him. He goes short and square towards Partey. Newcastle have everybody back behind the ball. We're on air until 10:30. Late night Livesey. Tony Livesey takes over. We'll try and bring you as much live reaction as we can before 10:30. If not, it'll be in the 5 Live Football Daily podcast. You can download and listen back at your leisure. Gabriel sends in a cross, flicked off the head of Havertz. Timber will get it on that far side, and it'll be an Arsenal throw. Don't look like scoring.
No, Newcastle's dealt with them. They've sit back Newcastle now, back 5, back 6 at times, and they're just waiting to catch them on the break, and here they go again.
Isak breaks up the play midway through the Newcastle half, gives it to Gordon, runs forward on that far side, the left. Gordon will play it back down the line to Hall. There is an element of control about Newcastle's play.
I think they've been excellent. The tactics has been spot on. They've brought Arsenal onto them. They've hit them on the break, but they've looked comfortable in possession. Arsenal haven't.
Here is Guimaraes, right of the centre circle. Looks for the run of Murphy, but Murphy wasn't chasing that, and it will go out of play for a goal kick. Not even midway through the second half just as yet here at St James's on this clear, cold night on Tyneside. Raya passes the ball forward to Havertz. That's what he wanted to do before he gifted the second goal to Newcastle. Here is Moreno, then towards Timber. Newcastle United no let up, still looking to try and close down Arsenal. Wanyeri forward, little touch from behind by Guimaraes. Wanyeri will leave the free kick for Saliba. As we'll get an update from Coventry in the Championship with Sani Rodavagila.
78 gone, Coventry City 0, Leeds United 2, but every single attack, Ian, Leeds are flooding forward and creating opportunities. The latest one is Joel Peru, played through, and Oliver Dovin standing tall, one-on-one to deny him. Coventry 0, Leeds 2, they'll go 5 points clear, but at the moment they are very much on top.
Thank you, Sani. Peterborough United earlier beat Cheltenham 3 goals to 2 in the EFL Trophy. Peterborough United a step nearer to Wembley in a different competition, as Newcastle United, runners-up just 2 years ago against Manchester United, hoping that it's going to be third time lucky in this competition, as Arsenal have a corner on the left-hand side, headed out. Wanyeri heads it back into the box. Saliba touches it. Timber gets it outside onto goal. Far side. No way through though for Gabriel, but at least he'll win another Arsenal corner kick as Calafiore warms up with some of the other Arsenal substitutes down in front of us from our lofty position here, high up in the main stand. This Wednesday night, midway through the second half. Newcastle United 2, Arsenal 0 on the night. Arsenal have a corner on the right. Guimaraes and Timber getting into a tangle. Referee Simon Hooper just has to have a word.
I don't know why, they never do anything.
Arsenal wait as still the talking to goes on. That ball from the right, the referee, there's a lot of jostling going on. Partey's trying to get away from his marker Tonali. Bit of pushing and shoving. In comes the corner kick, it's an in-swinger. Dubravka gets something on it with a fist, headed back by Sterling. Partey caught in possession. Murphy plays a low ball out towards Isak, far side. Midway through the Newcastle half on the left, and then he invites the challenge from Declan Rice, and Newcastle United get a throw.
I've got to say, Arsenal's best chances don't look like scoring. It's been set pieces, corners, general play, nothing. They've offered nothing tonight, Arsenal.
Another goal at Celtic, Kenny.
82 minutes gone, it's now Celtic 6, Dundee 0, and it's another cracker, this time the German on as a sub. Nicholas Kuhn cutting in from the right, taking it left-footed and floating it into the far top left-hand corner. Celtic 6, Dundee 0. Dundee lost 6-0 to Hearts on Saturday. Now they're 6-0 down again.
Cheers, Kenny. Arsenal coming into this game with just one defeat in their last 21 over 90 minutes. And that was against Newcastle United on the 6th of November. Newcastle, who won here by a 0-0. 2-0 in the first leg, or since the November the 6th, that game against Newcastle. You know, this has been a really good spell for them against the Gunners. As Gordon picks up the ball over the halfway line, he gives a rather ambitious ball for Isak to chase, and it was a good old chase between Isak and Saliba, but Saliba's pace held out. Just over 20 minutes remaining. Havertz checks by Botman. Free kick to Arsenal.
Do that all day. Disrupting the play. Arsenal kind of put three passes together. Newcastle getting behind the ball, frustrating them, intercepting the ball and breaking on them very quick. I can't remember Dubravka making a save. You know, we actually say, well, what a save.
Yeah.
Arsenal's a lot of ball, created nothing.
The only one I can recall from my notes was the one from Trossard, low down in the first half.
No, first half, yeah.
Yeah, but nothing in the second half. Absolutely nothing, with 20 minutes remaining. The Newcastle supporters are all standing to their feet, holding their black and white scarves wide and aloft above their heads. There's Gordon to Tonali, heads it forward. Saliba then tidies up for Arsenal. To credit the Arsenal supporters, bearing in mind they've got a good, at least a 5-hour journey back home, they have stayed. Can't see many empty seats, maybe the odd one or two in that travelling allocation of 4,883. As Hall guides the ball behind from Wanyeri for a corner kick. Maybe the odd straggler now is starting to leave, as they know that
you've got to say fair play to them, and they've not left, have they?
No.
And a lot of teams we know would have got up and left a long time ago.
Dubravka is sat up at the base of the left-hand post as he has gone down again. Just wonder if it's a recurrence of that injury, the knock that he picked up in the first half. So stoppage in play. Reminder, tomorrow night we're at Anfield, Liverpool against Tottenham. John Murray and Dion Dublin. Friday night, the 4th round of the FA Cup, Old Trafford. Manchester United, Leicester. Saturday, Leyton Orient, Manchester City at 12:15. Wigan, Fulham at 3. And then we've got England against France in the Six Nations from 5 Live. And then the second half of Birmingham, Newcastle. The first half will be on Sports Extra. And 8 o'clock, Brighton and Hove Albion against Chelsea. So much live sporting action to look forward to on Saturday alone. Dubravka getting treatment. I think now chants of cheerio, cheerio. Some of the Arsenal supporters are starting to drift to the exits with 18 minutes remaining as their side trail by 2-0. Talk about the wait for Newcastle United and domestic trophy. That year in 1993 was the last time that Arsenal have won this. They've had, of course, so much success in the FA Cup, but only twice winners of the League Cup, 87 and 93. They've lost their last 3 finals in that wait of 32 years, and the wait might have to go on a bit longer. The Newcastle supporters will have a wait until the 16th of March, and they'll be counting the days before the mass exodus from the northeast descends on the capital. Leading 2-0 on the night, 4-0, 17 minutes remaining. I wonder if maybe now Eddie Howe will be able to enjoy this atmosphere.
I'm sure he's enjoying the atmosphere, and I'm sure he's enjoyed the way his team's performed tonight, but you know, being a manager like he wants a final whistle, and then I'm sure he will celebrate. But you know, at the end of the day, they've got to a final, but they haven't won anything.
No, and they'll be mindful of that. Ball picked up by Declan Rice, runs forward. Wanyeri gets it out towards that far side. Moreno. Wanyeri shot down into the ground, left-footed. weak effort. Going down into the ground, took a lot of the pace off the ball. Comfortable save for Dubravka. Probably his first proper save in the second half.
I would say that. Definitely second half, he's done nothing. Had nothing to do.
That's what, 74 minutes played. Newcastle leading Arsenal 2 goals to the good. 16 minutes remaining. Dubravka strokes the ball out. His penalty area to that far side. Ball hit downfield. Headed away by Gabriel. Just to touch it around the corner did Partey. Tonali was there again to break it up. Tonali continued his run down the left touch line, and he rolls away from Thomas Partey, who's gone with him. Down towards the corner flag on that far side between the east stand and the Gallagate end, and then Partey catch Tonali.
No, he's kicked the ball out. It's a throw into Newcastle.
Tonali's gone to ground.
Oh, well. I didn't see anything, and the referee didn't, and he was 5 yards away.
Yeah. Tonali has stayed on the floor at the moment. No action to be taken by referee Simon Hooper. Instead, it will be a Newcastle throw on that far side, the left. A quarter of an hour remains. Who do you think that Newcastle United would want to face? Tottenham?
Yeah. It'd be a great game.
Do you think it will be Tottenham? I realised as soon as I posed that question.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
it's a tough question, isn't it? Really? Yeah.
I realised that, to be fair.
Yeah. So
let me ask you a better question. Who do you think will win tomorrow and progress to the final? As he tries to dig himself out of the hole.
I know I'd like to win, but if I was a neutral, you cannot see Liverpool not winning at Anfield, can you? But it's a cup, and if your name's on it, I've always said that. You always see shocks. So we'll see.
We've worked together long enough to know that I'm always able to throw you a daft question or two. As Arsenal are attacking inside the penalty area, stopped by Hall. They will want the clean sheet. Incidentally, there's no 10 o'clock news tonight. We're rolling all the way through until 10:30 here on BBC Radio 5 Live before Tony Livesey takes over. Saliba just cuts across Gordon, takes it away off his toes. Moreno passes the ball forward. Timber, his forward ball, threaded through. Havertz won't go on the outside of Byrne, asking too much of that, and it's easily picked up by Dubravka.
It'd be interesting to hear Arteta's press conference, because we thought it would be a very close game, this, didn't we?
Yeah.
And it hasn't been. I know Arsenal's had a lot of possession and probably won that stat, but let's be honest, Newcastle have been a far better team, deserve the win.
Arsenal have been unbeaten in 9 on their travels since away to Inter at the start of November. They've had some good victories as well. They're 23 wins this season, 16 of them by a scoreline that could have forced extra time, but it never really materialised. They made a nervous start, a little bit unsettled, and then Newcastle United, even after that Isak disallowed goal after as early as the 4th minute, have very rarely looked back, and on course to get back to Wembley Stadium, and we have 13 minutes remaining. Calafiori is coming on, and the other change is going to be Jorginho, so that's the 5 substitutes that are being used. Jorginho coming on for Thomas Partey in the midfield, and Calafiori coming on. Is also on, and it is Timber.
Timber's off.
Who's gone off. So Lewis Skelly Timber has gone off, so it's Lewis Calafiori for Timber at right back. They're the changes being made. Timber had taken his departure off the other side of the field that vexed me just for a short while as he trudges his way very slowly but surely. Gabriel with a cross. Moreno tries to chest it into the path of Rice. Newcastle United's defence still as strong as ever. Calafiori collects it on that far side, plays the ball back. Jorginho will float it forward, headed easily clear by Cher. Sterling now with an opportunity to run at Trippier, goes on the outside of Trippier, then faced by Murphy, who then concedes the corner kick. They've just been so strong. of Newcastle defensively.
All over the park, player for player. And I always used to say, win your battles, whoever you're playing against. And you got to say Newcastle have won their battles quite easily as well tonight.
Might have been a little bit of unease after losing back-to-back home games against Bournemouth and Fulham. They've never lost 3 in a row under Eddie Howe, and they've never looked like they were going to lose here tonight. As Newcastle United are going to make a double change. Arsenal with a corner, and it sails completely over everybody's heads by Rice from this near side, the left, and out for a throw. So we are going to see coming on Emil Kraft, who hasn't actually played since the end of October in this competition against Chelsea, out with a bit of a shoulder problem. He had a very good night, I recall, that evening. And then the other change is going to be Joe Willock, who gets a good ovation as he enters the field of play. So Willock and Kraft are on. Botman is one of the players who has gone off, as it's full-time at Celtic. Kenny Crawford.
Full-time Celtic 6, Dundee 0. A very pleasing night for the hosts. 2 for Arne Engels, 2 for Dyson Maeda, and 1 each for Adamida and Nicholas Kuhn. Plenty of them were beauties, Ian. Celtic 13 points clear at the top. Dundee stay 10th. 2 6-0 defeats on the bounce for them. Full-time Celtic 6, Dundee 0.
Murphy is the other player who has left the field of play for Newcastle United. He got the first goal. What a story that is as well for Murphy. Born in Wembley, but a Newcastle United fan, and his goal set them on their way. Under 10 minutes remaining. Here is Rice. Calafiori back towards Rice, no way through. Guimaraes stops it on the edge of the penalty area. Out towards that far side, helped out by Gordon. Calafiori steps into the challenge, wins it. Wanyeri, been one of the few bright sparks for Arsenal this evening with 9 minutes remaining. This is Gabriel, forward to Calafiori, instant layoff. Jorginho scoops it forward, looking towards Havertz. He goes to ground. Now for me, Havertz looked more intent on stepping into Dan Burn than watching where the ball was.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think he's looked for it. As soon as the ball's got flicked over the back four, Dan Burn goes with him. And the first thing you could see, Havertz was, I'm going to go down here. And it was never a pen. And Dan Burn obviously hits the ground with him, who's got cramp.
Well, as a matter of course, you'll have VAR looking at any potential penalty as Simon Hooper picks up the ball. So I would imagine because there is a stoppage in play, that's exactly what John Brooks is doing back at Stockley Park, but that check must be over as the referee drops the ball at the feet of Martin Dubravka. And with 8 minutes remaining, Newcastle United still lead by 2-0 as Havertz runs into to Cher, and then as he runs downfield, he forces Dubravka to pick up the ball. What a difference it can make from that first leg. That looked like it was going to be an emotional farewell. Dubravka is having a good run in this Newcastle United side. It's his 13th successive start for Newcastle United here tonight, and keeping out a fit again Nick Pope in the Newcastle goal. Jorginho hits it long. Sterling gone through the middle. Cher heads it away off the head of Guimaraes. Guimaraes gets there first, and that was Lewis Skelly who says that he got the ball, but for a foul on Guimaraes,
he didn't get the ball in. He pulled out the tackle though. He didn't go into the tackle. He thought he pulled out of it. He didn't think it was a free kick, but if Guimaraes is all right, he should be getting up. Let's run the clock down. They ain't got long to go, have they? So they don't want the trainer on.
Yellow card shown to Lewis Skelly, the third Arsenal player to be booked. Full time in the Championship. Coventry City Leeds United. Sani Radravagula.
Coventry 0, Leeds 2. First half goals from Peru played through, and Bogle picking up a Dovin error are the difference here. Leeds wasteful in the second, loads of chances, had one disallowed right at the end, and actually needed 2 super saves from Ilan Meslier to save their blushes. But the celebrations to my right, a packed away end. Leeds 5 clear at the top. Coventry City 0, Leeds United 2.
Yeah, a bit of a buffer now against Burnley and Sheffield United. 4 Leeds at the top of the Championship. Newcastle looking for the third goal. Rice though clears it. Lewis Skelly to Havertz, can't release it, the ball to Sterling, who slips. Ball kept in play by Kraft down the right touchline. And then an opportunity for Willock to come forward and barged into the back by Lewis Skelly, but Willock, the former Arsenal player, the reverse pass there by Guimaraes. He looked one way and then played it down the right side of the penalty area, and then the cross comes in. And the ball, I think, is saying from the referee Simon Hooper had gone out of play. It'll be a goal kick to Arsenal as they still trail 2-0.
Newcastle full of confidence now. 4-0 up on aggregate, and 7, 8, 10 minutes to go, and ours has never caused them one problem, really. No. Let's be honest. It's been a Newcastle very good performance, very good.
The Newcastle crowd have certainly played their part as well. They wanted them to bring their flags, war flags as they're known in these parts, and they certainly generated a spine-tingling atmosphere ahead of the game, and I'm sure that roar you'll hear once more at the final whistle as well, as they know then that their job will be complete. I mean, to be fair, it's done now, leading by 2-0. It's just one of those occasions as a football supporter you can sit back and enjoy and start plotting that route to Wembley Stadium. Tonali skips over one challenge, lays the ball out towards Gordon. Tonali was barged over, I think, by Rice quite late. Willock, after the racist abuse, the abhorrent racist abuse that he suffered at the weekend, it would be nice for Willock to get on the score sheet tonight. The perpetrators are found and dealt with in the appropriate manner, as the ball by Calafiore goes out towards that far side. Arsenal still coming forward. Only now you can start to see gaps appearing in that Arsenal travelling support, as Arsenal heading out of the semi-final stage. Calafiore picks it up, gets away from Guimaraes, in towards Havertz. Havertz with a shot. Still Newcastle United defending as if it was a much tighter margin. Rice going in, hefty challenge on Guimaraes. Guimaraes doesn't care. He springs to his feet and whips up the crowd once again, and then all of a sudden the pain kicks in as he hobbles away in anguish, and then he puts his arms on his knees and takes a breather.
Yeah, well, Declan Rice, very frustrated footballer, has a little bit of a lunge, has a talk to the referee. Tonali's got cramp, hasn't he?
Yeah,
he's got cramp badly, and they're going to make a substitution. 2 coming on.
Callum Wilson is going to be one of them coming on. He's only made 4 appearances this season that have totaled something like 57 minutes. So Callum Wilson making a run out, and Sean Longstaff, who of course was the hero in the semi-final 2 years ago against Southampton. Tonali gets a standing ovation as the scarves are being swirled once again, the black and white scarves around all across St James's Park. That double change, Longstaff on for Tonali, and Isak, who once again has shown his quality, threat and menace, is replaced by Callum Wilson. And Wilson gets a great ovation.
Yeah, I like Callum Wilson. Unfortunately, injuries have stopped him from playing a regular. He doesn't get enough game time, does he, for you? Unfortunately, the injuries he gets. But very good centre forward.
Combination of back and hamstring problems this season have restricted him to just the 4 appearances, but he will get a valuable run out that will take him to an hour's worth of action for Newcastle United this season. Remember, we're on air until 10:30. Live reaction we will try and bring you here on BBC Radio 5 Live and BBC Sounds. There's Trippier and Rice are just having a few words there at the moment. But Newcastle United, the celebrations and the party is about to start.
Yeah, right, they've been waiting for this, but they're in again. Short back pass.
Guimaraes shoots. He went for the power. He was put off, I think, by the presence of Declan Rice, and in the end it was right-footed and screwed low, well off target and out for a goal kick. Still they lead 2-0.
Yeah, one here he goes short for the straight ball. Arsenal play out from the back, straight at players. I don't know where they expect to go with it, and 2 or 3 times have been caught out with it.
Will it be a case of third time lucky for Newcastle after winning yet another semi-final of the League Cup, but runners-up previously in 76 and 2023? Deafening noise once again from the Newcastle supporters.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll all be looking forward to this trip to Wembley, and if you know how they can play in, you've got a chance.
Lewis Skelly. Rice shoots low. Dubravka made the save at his near post. It was a very, very tight angle from a rather jaded and tired Declan Rice. Sterling's cross comes in, takes a deflection, requires Dubravka to make a leap at his near post and touch it behind for a corner kick. But by my watch, we are entering the last 60 seconds of normal time as Newcastle United, who won the first leg through goals from Isak and Gordon by 2-0, are leading the second leg from goals from Murphy and Gordon by 2-0. And this would just be a mere consolation for Arsenal with less than 40 seconds remaining. In front of the Leesy's end, near side the left. Rice, in it goes, and the header over the top. It was Lewis Skelly who couldn't get over it inside that 6-yard area.
He's got to score. It's a free header from 3 yards out here, and he's got to put that in the net. He's got to hit the target at least. It's a great ball in by Rice. But it just shows you football, isn't it? What, 3-4 days ago it was 5-1 to Arsenal against Manchester City of all teams. Yet Newcastle United have been a better side tonight by far. Arsenal have been, I've got to say, they've been terrible.
But I think since the first leg, where 4 minutes have added on time,
4 minutes stoppage time to be added.
Arsenal have won 5 of their last 6 games, so they came into it not only with that confidence-boosting win against Manchester City, but they were in good form.
Oh yeah, definitely winning game after game. But tonight, whether it was a game too many or what, I don't know. Whether Sunday took a lot out of them, I'm not sure. But you've got to say, I'm not taking anything away from Newcastle, by the way. They've been excellent.
Lewis Miley's going to come on for these closing stages. Lewis Miley, who had a very good game against Bromley in the FA Cup. He's going to come on for Bruno Guimaraes. Bruno Guimaraes gets a standing ovation from the Newcastle supporters. We had the Olays just before that as well. He hands the captain's armband to Kieran Trippier, gets a pat on the back and a handshake from his manager Eddie Howe. But they will know, and they'll have learnt the lessons from 2 years ago. And like you said earlier, they've got to win the trophy.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this is a great night for them. Over 2 legs against Arsenal, very difficult opposition. You know, they did well in the first game. They've done even better tonight, I think. They've reduced Arsenal to what? I can't remember Arsenal really getting a great chance. So
Cher lifts the ball out towards Hall, runs forward. Calafiore tries to close him down. Gordon flicks it through. Calafiore, though, is there to clear. There was a foul there given away by Cher. Just a little bit of niggle, isn't there, still between the 2 sets of players?
Yeah.
Gordon there just pulls the shirt of Havertz.
And a little bit of banter going on. Probably Gordon saying, I'll leave 2 tickets on the gate at Wembley for you. That's what people used to say.
Was it?
Yeah. What's your name, mate? What's your second name? I'll leave 2 tickets on the gate for you.
Well, the tickets will be like gold dust in this part of the world between now and March the 16th. That's the next thing the supporters can enjoy tonight, and enjoy the game and enjoy the result. And then, of course, you then start panicking about how you're going to get a ticket for your friends and for your loved ones. And there's certainly the demand will outstrip the supply, as Arsenal, still looking for a consolation, will win a corner kick on that far side, the right, but by my watch was 60 seconds away. And the Arsenal support probably are now, from that loyal travelling that had made their way from North London, is probably about just over half full in the top tier. They still will have an opportunity to leave, because Newcastle's players, I'm sure, will be doing a lap of honour, and nobody will be leaving St James's Park from a Newcastle United persuasion early, as the flags that were flying ahead of the game are starting to be brought out now, along with the black and white scarves. as the corner is curled in and caught by Dubravka. Confident take, two-handed. We have some 30 seconds remaining. There'll be a look at the watch from Simon Hooper, and very, very soon the cheers will be heard all the way across the fine city of Newcastle and the surrounding areas as Dubravka clears long. 2-0 in the first leg, followed up by another 2-0 scoreline here tonight. Havertz goes into the challenge with Cher, and still Cher prevents him from making his way in towards the penalty area as Trippier once again is there. And the referee Simon Hooper making sure that there's no afters between the pair. Trippier has been like a warhorse, a Trojan, and there is the final whistle. Newcastle United are heading back to Wembley. Is this the year that elusive wait for a trophy is finally over? They've beaten Arsenal 2-0 in both legs, 4-0 on aggregate. The black and white scarves and flags are flying high. It's a night of celebration on Tyneside.
Oh, I've got to say they've been excellent over 2 games. They deserve to go through to the final. I've got to say, I've been very disappointed with Arsenal. Not shown anything, what we expected of Arsenal. There's nothing of it tonight. Newcastle easily winners for me, thoroughly deserved it, and they're on the way to Wembley.
Isak with a 4th-minute goal disallowed. He then hit the post after 19 minutes. Murphy on the rebound gave Newcastle the lead, and then a dreadful error by Raya gifted the second goal as Gordon buried the ball into the bottom left-hand corner. Que sera, sera. Newcastle United are going to Wembley. Steve Crossman.
St James's Park is alive with colour and noise. The song in the background might not be Local Hero, they love that one. It ain't Blade and Races, they love that one too. But Que Sera Sera is the only thing Newcastle United fans want to sing tonight. Anybody in the city of Newcastle this evening, forget about a wink of sleep. It is going to be quite the night on Tyneside. Just down beneath us, Kieran Trippier, the warrior, the aggression of this Newcastle team is hobbling. When the full-time whistle went, he sunk to his back. He had nothing left to give because these Newcastle United players have given absolutely everything. We're going to Wembley, says the big screen, the big face of Dan Burn roaring out at us from behind it. And 52,000 people inside St James's Park are just going absolutely crazy. Bruno Guimaraes is down there. He asked the fans before the game, bring back the spirit of the Champions League victory over Paris Saint-Germain. I'm not sure I thought it was possible, Chris Waddle, but Newcastle have just produced an even more famous night.
Oh, I mean, what an occasion. We got here before, and the atmosphere was electric when we got in the stadium. All the flags, we've had the saxophone playing, we've had everything tonight, and the team turned up. You start thinking, wow, what an occasion. And no other better side. Arsenal for me didn't turn up. I got very, very poor, but Newcastle, I'm not taking anything away from them, had a game plan and did it absolutely brilliant.
So Chris Waddle is with us, Ian Dennis is with us inside St James's Park, Matt Upson is with us as well. Matt, these are special scenes inside St James's Park, and as Chris said, from minute one really, Arsenal never looked like doing anything to avoid this situation.
No, they set the tone, Newcastle. We thought the atmosphere may play a part. I think it did in the early stages of the game, and it gave them confidence, and the way they took it to Arsenal, they smothered them, and the tempo was high, they weren't allowing them anything, and I think that really played into the game. I think it was helped by Arsenal not being at their best, whether or not the occasion at the weekend against Manchester City or whatever the reason was, the team just looked a little bit flat and a couple of players just a little bit out of sorts, and that's all it needed, because Newcastle, credit to them, hats off to them, they were on it. They wanted this victory, they wanted their moment at Wembley, and they're going to get it.
Well, I tell you what, Ian, Sam Fender's got 3 dates here at St James's Park in June. do well to get a better noise than this. This is a proper concert feel inside St James's Park.
Yeah, I mean, the players, the club, they'd all said, you know, that everybody was conscious of the fact, you know, that how much these supporters could have a factor in tonight's semi-final. You know, they wanted it to be that wall of noise. They got that, but that could easily have worked against them had Arsenal scored early. And Eddie Howe, I think, had wanted his players on that basis to embrace the occasion, embrace the atmosphere and feed off that energy, and that's exactly what they did. His words were attack the game. They did that, and then the supporters stayed with them throughout. And now all of a sudden you'll have that mass exodus heading down to Wembley in mid-March.
Yeah, East Coast Main Line will be a thing on that day, I can tell you. We'll be there, of course, for full commentary of that League Cup final between Newcastle and either Tottenham or Liverpool. Full commentary on Thursday evening of the second leg of that one. The cheers have got that little bit louder here because the Newcastle players and coaching staff have just almost completed a lap of honour and are now disappearing beneath this. Eddie Howe is down there. He's just moved out of view now, Chris, but I can tell you, we're a long way away from the pitch here. But the smile on the face of Eddie Howe was so broad, you could see it shining from down on the pitch up to the commentary position as he becomes the first Newcastle manager since Stan Seymour in 1952 to reach 2 major finals with Newcastle.
Oh, listen, his game plan works great. We all looked at it, well, I did, and thought, why are you playing 5 at the back? It's worked, you know, and when your coach gets it right, he needs the praise, he gets the praise, deservedly so. Listen, he'll be looking forward to it, but it's like anything. You'll enjoy the night, he'll say to the players, enjoy the occasion, it's been brilliant, but we've got to go to Wembley in a month's time or whatever it is, and we've got to win it. You know, it's all right getting to a final, and it's a great achievement, but you ask the players, he'll want to win it, and it's going to be a tough game, whoever it is.
And you know better than anybody here, Chris, what it means to Newcastle and the way, and everybody mentioning 1955 for the last domestic trophy, everybody mentioning the Fairs Cup as well. It's just time. They've waited long enough, haven't they?
Listen, I think a lot of people neutrals will hope Newcastle lift the trophy because everybody respects Newcastle support. It's massive, we know it is, and they're a team who should be lifting trophies quite regularly, like Arsenal, like Liverpool do, like Man City do. They should be lifting trophies, and they haven't, and they've been starved of them up here, and they're not going to get a better chance. You know, they're full of confidence at the minute. Everybody's fit. Joel Linton will be okay, I'm sure, and he'll go down there with a healthy squad. And we've seen Newcastle over the last 2-3 seasons. On the day, they can beat anybody, and they've proved that. So, you know, they'll not have a fear going into Wembley. Just hope the occasion doesn't get the players, but whoever they play, they know they could beat them.
Just opposite us here, because some of the Newcastle fans have started filing out of St James's Park, there's an absolutely beautiful banner which you can always see when St James's is empty, and when it gets full it's obscured, but it's staring right back at me now, and it's the start of a brilliant quote from Sir Bobby Robson. So I'm going to read the whole thing because it's really, really powerful. You can just see the first couple of lines in black and white, of course, opposite us. He said, "What is a club in any case? It's not the buildings or the directors or the people paid to represent it. It's not the television contracts, get-out clauses, marketing departments or executive boxes. It's the noise, the passion, the feeling of belonging, the pride in your city. It's a small child clambering up stadium steps for the very first time, gripping their parents' hand, gawping at that hallowed stretch of turf beneath him, and without being able to do a thing about it, falling in love." I'm not going to start saying that anyone can reach the levels of Sir Bobby Robson, Ian, but I tell you what, if Eddie Howe wins a trophy with Newcastle United, just like Stan Seymour, they might call him Mr. Newcastle.
Well, then all of a sudden, you know, he'll create his own legacy, Eddie Howe and these players, and that's what the challenge he's given to this set of players. Because, you know, since that last domestic trophy back in 1955, Newcastle have reached 5 domestic finals and they've lost them all. So they will use that hurt where they didn't really show up against Manchester United 2 years ago. They will use that experience, they'll try and benefit from it, and obviously, whether it be against Liverpool or Tottenham, they'll then try and put this long, elusive wait to finally to bed for them.
We'll be bringing you reaction very, very shortly. As soon as we hear from anybody down in the tunnel, we'll be live down there to hear from perhaps one of the two managers. So we'll spin it back to Arsenal for a moment now as we wait, Matt Upson. Where do you think that performance came from? Because it wasn't just that they were poor and they didn't really create that much. They were so sloppy, especially in that second half.
I think it's hard to say where it came from. I think you have to credit Newcastle, Steve, if I'm honest, and say that they had more belief and tempo and the atmosphere and everything all led to Newcastle having a really bright start. It was a brightness that they had, and I think that, you know, Arsenal's shortcomings in terms of in front of goal, where's that striker, it had never been highlighted more than in a game this evening, with what Newcastle were doing at the other end, with limited opportunities, but the clinical edge that they have in Gordon and Isak in particular, who is just on another level for me, with his movement, his intensity, his pace. He's hungry to prove himself. His finishing is bang on target every time, making goalkeepers work or even scoring. And I think that really hammered home the need for where Arsenal need to strengthen. And you know, the team looked a little bit flat, and it looked tight. For whatever reason, I have no clue, but that's how it appeared. Only they'll know, and I'm sure they'll speak about it and be open about it, and they'll talk about it in the dressing room, but they know that they didn't make that the game that I personally thought they were going to make it this evening. I thought it was going to be more from Arsenal, and it just wasn't there. When you don't score that first chance that Martin Odegaard has with his right foot to hit the target and pass that in the net and think, right, 2-1, it just changes it completely. And you miss that, and then you concede, and I think it just drains out and just had nothing left in the end, Arsenal.
I just think, when I look at it now, you know, when you take a step back and it's all quiet now, the front three of Arsenal didn't turn up. The front three of Newcastle did. And that was the difference. I think the midfield was a good battle. There was a lot of tackles going in. There was a lot of possession. Arsenal had probably outdone Newcastle on possession. The two defences were quite... So probably first 20 minutes, Arsenal were a little bit all over the place at the back. But apart from that, it was the difference between the front three of Newcastle were better, for me, far better than the Arsenal front three.
You saw mistakes as well, Chris. I mean, like, I've never seen Saliba look as shaky as what he did. Whether it was Isak that made him feel that way, or Gordon, and then the mistake from David Raya with the pass and you know, the early offside goal, which was a brilliant ball from Gordon, but the two centre-backs for Arsenal, which are normally really tuned in, they just looked a little bit sluggish with their decision-making and just had an off night tonight.
I reckon, Matt, Mikel Arteta, when he comes out, is going to be absolutely fuming with that.
It wouldn't surprise me, Steve, because he knows the performance wasn't good enough. And you can always look back and say, OK, we missed 1, 2, 3 chances, and you can actually single those moments, which I think was more in the first leg. You know, Arsenal had a big half an hour at the start of the game, should go at least 1 up. Martinelli hits the post, should score. And but play with a rhythm and a purpose, and they dominate and they control certain elements. That wasn't that tonight. Tonight it was the different performance, and it just wasn't good enough across the board. And I agree that attacking wise, just provided very little threat.
Is this a good time for them to have a bit of a break, Arsenal? Because that's what they've got. They're going to go away for a bit of warm weather training.
Well, last time they had a break was just before the first game of the new year last season, and they went on the most incredible winning run from that moment, and they'd had a bad couple of sticky results, a poor away loss at Fulham, and title hopes were gone really. Came back from a warm weather training camp and just hit the ground running, and whatever they did, whatever the schedule was, whatever the mindset they got in, they need to find that place again.
And this will help Arsenal, by the way. I know they're not going to be happy, obviously, going home when these fans travel 5,000, whatever, and they're going home. Whatever.
Where they come from, New York.
But listen, they're not going to be happy about this. But you know, they're out the FA Cup, they're out the League Cup, so they can focus now, chasing down Liverpool, who are still in everything, and they've got the Champions League to think of, which they qualified for the round after. So, you know, they're going to get a bit more rest now in the run-in. So, we just talked about how good they did after when they had the turnaround last time. So, in a way, yes, they'll not be happy about the performance of the 2 games, especially tonight. But it could help them chase down Liverpool.
So even, Chris, even though it would be, obviously, if they've got through, it would have been one extra game for the final. But actually, especially given how thin the squad is, I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't have quality there, but how many conversations have we had about did they need more than just Kai Havertz up front? Actually, what you're saying is that one game, that one weekend, that could actually make a big difference to them as they go for everything else.
Yeah, it could. I mean, people may say it's only one game, but, it makes the most rest they can get, the amount of games these play. I mean, it's a lot of football people play today, and the amount of games they play, you see it, they can get a run going, but then all of a sudden throw in a performance like this tonight, which was, you've got to say, it was very poor. And, for a semi-final to chasing down Newcastle, and I think this break going to Dubai, wherever they're going, will help them massively. But they're out this now, they've got 2 things to focus on when they come back.
Matt, from a Newcastle perspective, I mean, there are so many players, individual performances, who are worthy of some praise here. Just sitting back watching it where you were, was there one or two who particularly stood out for you?
For me, I just love watching Isak. Yeah. I just think he's on another level with his movement. He's one of those players, Steve, that he's so unassuming the way he plays and the way he carries himself that he kind of almost like slinks around the pitch, and then all of a sudden, bang, he comes into life. The chance where he hits the post, the goal where Murphy scores, he's got no right to kind of spin and get that ball. But as he wins that flick past Saliba, his instinct to spin and get the other side of him, he doesn't know what's going to happen. Gordon fires the ball into him. It's a little bit fortunate why it falls into his path, but it isn't, because it's his reaction and anticipation that makes it happen. And I think they've got a lovely link up between the two of them. And then when he gets there, how precise he is with his left foot, right foot in the air. I think he rattled Arsenal, and I think that the 2 centre backs didn't have a good night. Saliba in particular didn't have the most confident night that I've seen him be excellent all season. Just looked a little bit rattled, and the back 3, we all had reservations at the start how it would affect the midfield, but I thought, between them, the communication I thought was excellent. Shah was going in really far. I mean, he's all the way up pressing Rice to turn the ball over when on the final goal with Gordon. They handled that quite well, with one of them stepping in all the time, and I think that helped the midfield out. So hats off to Eddie Howe, got the game plan absolutely bang on, and it played out that way, but with a little bit of help from Arsenal.
Former Newcastle goalkeeper, Monday Night Club regular Shea Given is down there. He's just given a massive bear hug to Bruno Guimaraes as he walked past him. Anthony Gordon, I can see down there as well. On Isak, Chris, I think it always happens for players playing, let's be honest, outside of London in the Premier League. Somebody like Isak performs brilliantly for Newcastle, and it's inevitable that the talks start and the links start and the rumours start. So Arsenal need a striker, or isn't Alexander Isak good? Is there any reason Newcastle can't keep Alexander Isak?
Well, most players, they want success now to win a cup final. They've got a chance. That helps. Qualify by Europe. Players use that. Is a reason to move to go to clubs who are playing in the Champions League. That's up to Newcastle to meet his ambition. Anthony Gordon will probably be the same. A lot of talk about moving on. It's up to Newcastle to show that they want to be a top 4 club on a regular basis, and I'm sure there's no reason and there's no excuse for any player to say I need to leave. But most players want to play at the highest level, and Champions League is the highest level, and if Newcastle are not in the Champions League every year, then players will start thinking, I've been tempted by clubs who are in the Champions League, and people like Isak and Anthony Gordon will come under that.
Speaking of Anthony Gordon, Matt, I'm sure you, like all of us, were raising our eyebrows at Lewis Skelly's celebration when he scored for Arsenal against Manchester City. Sort of did the Haaland celebration, and then afterwards they played on the PA Kendrick Lamar, Stay Humble. Quotes from Anthony Gordon here: "This feels amazing. A game plan, we knew it would work. Everyone knows we press. It's important for us now to stay humble." Anthony Gordon speaking after they've just beaten Arsenal in the League Cup semi-final. And I feel like the same question to you here. as well. And I suppose the question is, if Newcastle can go and win a League Cup, would that be enough, that kind of glory, that feeling, to keep your likes of Anthony Gordon and Alexander Isak? Or realistically, will only, not just a cup win, but Champions League football again do that?
I mean, it can't do any harm, can it?
No,
it's a great feeling. What that brings to the city, the support, I'm sure they enjoy that. I mean, how can you not enjoy an evening? I wasn't privileged enough to be at the stadium, but judging from listening and how it was, it's incredible. So to play there in that kind of environment, what a draw that is. And all of that does have an impact. But I think surrounding them with, the strength of player and attracting that player there does require probably Champions League football for their level of where they want to get to. And I think the club achieving that consistently, or being in that mix where they're realistically in that group every season, that for me is a big goal. Then if you win stuff along the way, that's great, like the League Cup or FA Cup or whatever it may be. But in and around that, those two players in particular, I think, are looking for that, and rightly so, because they're at that level.
I mean, winning a trophy and then getting Champions League football at the minute, it might be the top 5 that could bring Champions League football for next season.
Probably will be
for Newcastle United. But what a buy! £63 million club record signing, and his return is 54 goals now in 94 appearances. That's some return. At a time when you're looking for quality strikers in the Premier League, he is a world-class talent. And if Newcastle United then, and I'm aware that the PSR rules have seen them sell Almiron and Kelly, and that's why you've had the transfer inactivity. But if that means that this short-term pain that they're going in provides long-term gain in the summer, and they're able then to add to that, they need to be building around your players such as your Isaks and your Guimaraes and your Tonales for Newcastle United to be in the Champions League on a regular basis, season in, season out.
Easily one of my favourite lines of the night in commentary from you, Ian, something I did not know at all, but one of Newcastle's goal scorers will be going home for the League Cup final. Yeah,
Jacob Murphy, born in Wembley, and obviously getting the first goal. But he's a Newcastle United fan. Just a sweet moment for him, because I think he's been one of those unsung heroes, if you like. I mean, he's been a regular now coming into the side since early December, and Chris mentioned it in commentary, he's able just to carry the ball and to stretch teams and to take you further down the pitch. And I thought even in the first leg, the way that he linked up with Isak at times, he causes people problems. And I just think it's a really, really sweet story for him going back to Wembley.
Speaking of sweet stories, you might have been able to hear the screaming in the background, and I read those Bobby quotes before about what particularly this team means to its fans. There was a group of sort of, 10, 11-year-olds behind us screaming down at the pitch because Bruno Guimaraes was walking beneath, and he just waved up at them, and oh my goodness me, the look on their faces after that to see one of their heroes had just waved in their direction. And the Jacob Murphy story, Matt, is great, isn't it? And it's just one of the really unique things about Newcastle. Manager Eddie Howe's just appeared beneath us now as well, is that they are this amalgamation of a few marquee, big-name, really well-judged signings, and some other players, many of whom left over from before the takeover even happened.
Yeah, no, I think you can look at players like him and almost kind of written off in one way, wasn't he? As not being quite good enough, and on the fringes, on the bench, probably looking to move him on at some point, but he's stuck at it. And the coaching staff have stuck with him, and they've seen something, and they've worked with him, and he's now more accomplished. He makes better decisions. He's a threat. He works hard, and I think he brings a lot of value to the team. And like you say, players like Dan Burn who've been there and are very reliable, very steady. It's got a really good mix of those type of personalities, and I think the supporters do connect well with those players. They appreciate those players and how they've built into the team and how they've had to work hard to get there. So I think all of that just creates a feel which can only be positive. And like you say, littering that squad with those characters, with the right recruitment in the summer, that's going to be Newcastle's key factor if they can then elevate themselves to the next step.
And it also means, Chris, that quite often you still get the odd local lad knocking around the first team as well, which doesn't matter how good you are, how far you go. You know, Manchester City have had that with Foden, Liverpool, Trent Alexander-Arnold and other. Arsenal have got it with a couple of players who've just come into the first team. You need that, don't you? You still need that running through you somewhere.
Yeah, and I think the fans take to local talent coming through. You know, you've got Lewis Miley, who had a good run, got injured, he can't get back on the side of the minute. Longstaff played quite regular last season, can't get in the team at the minute because of the form of the players in there. But you know, you look at Newcastle's bench and we're watching them doing 80-yard sprints here, which good luck.
And I thought it was hard walking up all these steps.
So you know, they've got a decent squad if everybody's fit. But going back to the players we were mentioning earlier, the squad's got to get bigger and better if you want to keep your top talent, because it's very easy for a player to bail out and say, you know, so and so's come in for him, he's going to go, isn't he? And this is the ambition is. They've got to be a top 4 club, Newcastle, not just 1 year, then 3 or 4 years later. It's like every year they should be in that top 4.
Just looking down at Eddie Howe, Ian, who, I mean, it doesn't surprise me at all that when the England vacancy came up, that his name was mentioned and mentioned again. He speaks so well, he coaches so well, he's got a bit of everything. And here he is in his second major cup final with Newcastle.
Yeah, no, he's done well. 3 years in charge? He's since signed a new long-term deal. But those who know Eddie Howe, who I tend to speak to, will tell you that, you know, he's extremely dedicated. He's in at the crack of the dawn. He'll leave late at night. He won't get carried away when they lose a game, but equally he won't get carried away when they win a game. So he'll remain level-headed, very, very focused. But he will know what happened against Manchester United. So now he'll be thinking, right, okay, what did we do differently in order to make sure we get over the line? Because Newcastle players won't want to be back at another final and come away empty-handed. You know, I spoke to Alan Shearer about it. You want to get there, you don't want to come away as a loser. You want to get there as a winner. And Newcastle have been there in previous times since '55 and not won it. And that'll be the message. He said up to the players about creating the legacy. And I'm sure he'll say that again many times between now and March the 16th.
It's a really good point, that, Chris, because I think if we're honest, in their previous final against Manchester United, and I think if you asked a Newcastle fan, they would say the same, they didn't really turn up.
No, they didn't. It was disappointing. You know, you go through all them rounds to get to a final, and when you turn up, you one thing you want to do is enjoy it and think, you know, hopefully we'll come away a winner.
We have got live reaction from downstairs. Anthony Gordon is with Rob Schofield.
Thank you, Steve. Anthony, how good does that feel?
Yeah, very good. We felt good coming into the game because we got off to a good start in the first leg, but I think the first goal in that game was going to be massive, because if they would have got the first, they would have got really tense, I imagine, so it was good to get that.
Tell me about the game plan, because it just looked from start to finish, especially at the start, the balance was just right.
Yeah, I think everyone knows we don't change too much. We're always going to press. We're always going to try and put teams under pressure, but the gaffer altered it a little bit, which I thought worked to perfection. I played more inside a little bit, and I thought they struggled with that on the counter-attack because they couldn't really pick me and Murph up, and Alex does what Alex does and is always a threat. So I thought the gaffer deserves all the credit for how we looked tonight.
Tell us about the scenes, pre-match, post-match. That was some pretty special stuff out there.
Yeah, I think I've been in some great moments with the club in the Champions League and stuff where we've won big games here, but that's probably my best moment so far, because it's probably the biggest game of my career so far, semi-final. It'll be my first game at Wembley at club level, so really excited.
I was going to ask that just finally. You only just signed for the club when Newcastle played Man United in the cup final 2 years ago. So what will it mean to you to get an opportunity to play in a major cup final at Wembley and try and win something for this football club?
Yeah, it means a lot to me. I went the game because I just joined. It was heartbreaking to watch, to be fair, just not being able to go on the pitch, but I live for them moments, I live for them games. That I feel like that's where I'm at my best. It brings the best out of me when there's the most pressure. So I'm really excited.
Anthony, well done. Steve?
Great stuff. Thank you, Rob. Rob Schofield down there here at St James's Park with Anthony Gordon, who always speaks, Chris, absolutely brilliantly, does Anthony. And, I mean, we just talked about how you approach this cup final, bearing in mind the last one. There's someone who had, in his own words, the heartbreak of not being able to play. It only just arrived. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he has a real day out on that final.
He'll enjoy it. Listen, he's a confident lad. You can tell the way he comes across, and then when he's on the pitch, he doesn't lack confidence. But unfortunately, one player doesn't make a team, so he's going to hope that all these players are thinking like he's thinking, and when they turn up, they have a right good go at it. Now, if you lose and you think, well, we couldn't do any more, we've had a right go at it, and that's what people want to see. I think they want to see Newcastle have a right go at it. Now, if they don't come out with a winner's medal, you used to say, look, we'll give everything we did on the day, because, as you say, the Man United game, they didn't show anything at all, did they?
Matt, just to spin it back to Eddie Howe there, who's just had another great cheer from some the final remaining Newcastle fans as he walked down the touchline. Do you think he is at, as much as he might have disappointments and frustrations in the transfer market, is he at kind of the perfect club for him now? Some managers just suit some football clubs, and I'm looking around St James's Park. There are his quotes on big banners. There's his name on a big banner here. Does it just fit?
It appears to, if I'm honest, Steve. When I look at it from the outside, I think what Deno mentioned before the game about how he is the voice of Newcastle. He's the spokesperson, and I think that he does that really well. Does he enjoy that side of it? I'm not too sure. Maybe. He's good at it, and I think that's why people talk about him in the England job, because that is such a big part of it, that being able to communicate and speak about other issues. So I think he does that brilliantly. I feel that he's now really trusted. He's been there long enough. I think he's valued by the football club as being trusted, that he can guide the team and probably a lot of, or hopefully some of the recruitment to what he needs. I think that's important for a manager. That's very hard to get a hold of in the modern game, and perhaps he has a bit of sway in that front, and he can start to build and bring in the players that he wants. But in terms of coaching, that was a bold move tonight, what he did with that team. I mean, you've also got the disappointment of the midfield players like a Longstaff, how he feels about not playing, and because he must have thought, I'm in the team, Joe Linton's out, I'm going to come in and give an account of myself, or Miley. But he goes with a different option, and it played brilliantly. So yeah, he ticks a lot of boxes, and I'm sure he enjoyed it, and he's enjoying his time there, and I think that shows.
He said he wanted the five at the back so that they could be adaptable. He said it was an adaptable system. Do you think it's something that he might be able to replicate at Wembley for the final?
I think it could be. Yeah, depending on who he plays, Deno, isn't it, and how they set up. But looking at the two teams, when you think of Liverpool and Spurs, I mean, I think that's definitely an option. He did it really well in the sense that one of the centre-backs did come out a lot and pressed high and went all the way in. It requires a lot of that communication, and you've got players like Trippier and Byrne and who are pretty good at that. So it had a nice balance. So it all depends on who's available and on the day, but it's certainly an option.
But the problem is he's not going into the final 2-0 up.
No.
So he'll play to his strengths. So he'll want Gordon high, and he'll want Murphy high, and he'll want Isak high, and then the rest of the team have to dig in, and they'll think if he can work as a unit and get the ball to them on counter-attack, and especially, they're in with a chance of winning, definitely, without a shadow of a doubt. But I don't know if he'll play three at the back at Wembley. I think he'll look at the opposition, and he might, but I don't think he will.
He's also, Ian, kind of represents this team really well, in that I've said it a couple of times tonight about it being a mix of the marquee stars and the kind of maybe sort of slightly underdog players, certainly for a club of this size. Almost see a bit of Eddie Howe in that, because I think when Eddie Howe got the job, Newcastle fans would have seen him as, this is a good appointment, this is a step up perhaps from what we've had, but he wasn't necessarily the end game. I'm not sure Newcastle fans were thinking Eddie Howe is going to be the manager in 5 years' time when we think we're going to be in the Champions League season in, season out. But if he carries on like this, there'll be no getting rid of him. Why would you want to?
Well, no, I mean, at the minute, a manager's position is precarious. It's always judged on results. I mean, it doesn't take long for a string of results and all of a sudden the manager's position is under scrutiny. And Eddie Howe will be aware of that. But Eddie Howe has taken Newcastle United back into Europe. He's taken them to a major final. They're back at another major final again. And we come back to that same word, creating a legacy. And that's what he's doing at this stage.
There's every possibility, Matt, that Mikel Arteta will create a massive legacy at Arsenal. We don't know. It's still in that position where, they're going to they look like they might challenge for the Premier League again, and they've had that City performance, and now they have a little bit of a break. Do you think tonight will have any impact on what happens for the rest of the season, or is it just a lick your wounds, bad night at the office, have a break, crack on again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's ever great going into this kind of break with that type of performance. Forget the result. I think results are results. You can play well and things not go right and the result isn't right. But I think going into a break off of that kind of type of performance can be challenging. So the work away in Dubai is going to be key. How the players feel, getting the right rest, and then getting the right energy into the players ready to have a massive push. And it's going to have to be a monumental effort, isn't it? Let's face it, if they're going to get any piece of silverware this season, it's going to have to be something very special.
Stand by, Matt. Just got to go back downstairs again because we can now hear live from Eddie Howe. He's with Rob.
Can indeed, Eddie, just describe the emotions you're going back to Wembley.
Yeah, really pleased. I mean, it's we had a long wait in between the ties. We had a long time to think about our lead and a lot of different discussions, etc., etc. But just delighted with how we played today. Delighted with how we handled the occasion. It was a really strong performance, and we're so pleased to be through to the final.
Just speaking to Anthony there, and he was singing your praises and how you set the team up, but whether it was the formation or the fast start, it just felt like you got the balance just right today.
Yeah, I think we wanted to be ourselves. We wanted to attack, to press high, everything that we always want to do. We tried to implement. Now Arsenal are a very difficult team to press, to get to their players who go into a lot of rotations and movements. But the players executed it brilliantly, highlighted really by our second goal with Fabian regaining the ball so high, and really pleased with that aspect of our game today. And also I thought we counter-attacked really well. I thought there was really good energy in the side, which was contrast to Saturday against Fulham, so much better physically, and great win.
Don't mean to look forward too quickly, but just how better equipped do you think this team is compared to the team 2 years ago in all aspects, on the pitch, mental, everything?
Yeah, I think we've come a long way since then. I mean, I think the Champions League does that to you. That experience was so testing and so unique that naturally, I think now for the big games, I think a lot of the players have been there before. The quick turnarounds, that forces you in terms of our game plans and preparations to work quicker and smarter. I think there's a really good feeling about the squad. We're tight in numbers but high in quality. I'd love to think we can go to Wembley and play better than we did before. We were slightly disappointed with our performance. We're going to play an elite team, whoever it is, Tottenham or Liverpool. I think it'd be a great final.
And just for you personally, as head coach of this football club, what does it mean to give the fans that other day at Wembley and everything that'll mean? There'll be all the talk about winning the trophy, but that even in itself is something very special for this football club.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great thing. I mean, it's an unbelievable football club. I said many times I feel such a special feeling being here. The people are so unique, they're friendly, so passionate about the football club. To be able to make a lot of Geordies happy tonight gives me an immense pride, and of course the focus is to try and go one better. But a great night for us.
Eddie, congratulations. See you at Wembley.
Great stuff. Eddie Howe live on 5 Live with Rob Schofield.